Tonight, we're diving deep into all of the weirdest and unsolved mysteries of Pokémon. For those of you who've been joining us consistently, I want to thank you for being such an integral part of our channel. If you're falling asleep with us tonight, let me know in the comments how many nights in a row you've been here, and if this is your first night, just comment day 1. Now let's get back to the video. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the world of Pokémon, not as the bright, colourful adventure on the surface, but as a vast, ancient tapestry woven with threads of shadow and silence. We have spent nearly 30 years catching, battling, and befriending these creatures. Yet the more we learn about them, the more we realise how little we actually know. Beneath the cheerful music of the Lavender Town radio tower and the sun-drenched paths of the Paldea region lies a collection of secrets so profound they threaten to rewrite everything we think we understand about this universe. We are told that Pokémon are our partners, our friends, and our tools for growth, but there are corners of this world where the rules of biology, physics, and even time itself seem to break down entirely. Why is it that after decades of research by brilliant professors like Oak, Elm, and Rowan, we still cannot explain the true face of a Cubone? Why does the history of the Kalos region contain a scar so deep that it hints at a global catastrophe we are never fully allowed to witness? There are phantoms that drift through the elevators of Lumio City and the docks of Canalave, entities that do not belong to any known species, yet they interact with us as if they are searching for something or someone lost to the ages. Legendary beasts born from fire and lightning, yet their original identities are scrubbed from the historical record, leaving us to wonder what nameless creatures had to die so that Raikou, Entei, and Suicune could live. This is not just a collection of trivia or a list of fun facts. This is an exploration into the fundamental inconsistencies and haunting enigmas that define the Pokémon experience. When we look at an ancient mural and see a common Arcanine standing alongside the gods of the sky and sea, we are seeing a crack in the foundation of the lore. When we encounter a trainer like Tobias who wields the power of nightmares and then vanishes into thin air, we are reminded that there are forces in this world far greater than any league champion. Even the very ground we walk on is suspect, with references to real-world locations like Guyana and the Indian elephant suggesting that our world and the Pokémon world were once far more intertwined than the creators would like to admit. Tonight, we're going to step away from the tall grass and the bright lights of the stadium. We are going to dive deep into the darkness of the burned tower, the silent halls of the Sinjo ruins, and the unsettling entries of the Pokédex that speak of children being carried away into the afterlife by drifting balloons. We will examine the weapon that ended a war 3,000 years ago and ask ourselves who was truly on the receiving end of that devastating light. We will look into the eyes of the unknown and try to decipher the language of the Creator itself. This is a journey for those who find comfort in the unexplained, for those who find peace in the mysteries that linger long after the game has been saved and the screen has gone dark. The world of Pokémon is far stranger than it appears. It is a world of crystal monsters that shouldn't exist, of gods that take the form of alphabet soup, and of ghosts that are looking for a one who may never arrive. As we settle in for this long-form exploration, let the familiar sounds of the tall grass fade away and prepare to enter the deep lore. We are looking for the truth behind the myths, the faces behind the masks, and the answers to the questions that have haunted trainers since 1996. This is the definitive deep dive into the weirdest unsolved mysteries of Pokémon. Let the journey begin. Deep in the heart of the Pokémon universe, something profoundly wrong stares back at us from the oldest Pokédex entries. Elephants, massive tusked Indian elephants, trudge across the dusty plains of Kanto, their trunks swaying as they uproot trees with effortless strength. Not Pokémon, mind you, real Indian elephants, the very same species that once roamed the subcontinent of Earth, now inexplicably woven into a world supposedly ruled by pocket monsters, alone. You feel the unease settling in, don't you? This isn't some fleeting glitch in a fan translation. No, it's etched right there in the original Japanese Pokédex for Rhyhorn, describing how these behemoths clash horns with the rock-hard Pokémon, sending shockwaves through the earth. Rhyhorn charges forward, but the elephants stand their ground, their hides thick as armour, eyes gleaming with a primal intelligence that has no place in this fantasy realm. Why are they here? In a universe where every creature from Pidgey to Pikachu is catalogued as a Pokémon, these outsiders crash the party uninvited, lumbering through the lore like ghosts from a forgotten draft. Picture the scene in those early days of the franchise, 1986, when Satoshi Tajiri sketched out his insect collecting dreams into a global phenomenon. The world he built wasn't fully sealed off yet. Animals from our reality slipped through the cracks, cows grazing in fields, birds that weren't Starly or Spearow, and yes, those towering Indian elephants, referenced casually as if everyone knew they belonged, but they don't. Pokémon world building insists on a biosphere dominated entirely by these capturable beasts. No zoos stocked with lions or tigers, no farms raising pigs or chickens. Just Pokémon, everywhere, all the time. So how do these real-world invaders persist in the canon, haunting entries that Game Freak has quietly scrubbed in later remakes? Turn your gaze southward now, to the steamy jungles of Guyana in South America. Here the mystery thickens into something almost expeditionary, a tale ripped from the pages of a researcher's fevered journal. In the code of the original Pokémon Red and Blue, hidden away in Cinnabar Mansion's basement, you find it. A scorched diary entry from a scientist named Fuji. He writes of a perilous journey across oceans, deep into the uncharted wilds of Guyana, chasing rumours of a mythical pink creature flitting through the canopy, Mew, the ancestor of all Pokémon. Feel the humidity clinging to your skin as you follow that expedition in your mind's eye. Vines choke the ruins of ancient temples. Howler monkeys, real monkeys, not manky, scream from the treetops, and somewhere ahead, a flicker of motion. Mew, elusive and godlike, but documented not as a legend whispered in Johto shrines, but as a specimen netted in South America, a continent that maps imperfectly onto the Pokémon globe. Guyana isn't Sinnoh or Hoenn, it's our Guyana, nestled between Venezuela and Brazil, with coordinates that don't bend to fit Paldea's borders or Gala's misty isles. The journal details cargo ships laden with equipment, each team's hacking through underbrush teeming with piranhas and anacondas, creatures that scream Earth biology, not Pokémon ecology. Fuji's words linger like smoke from the mansion's fire. Mew is said to be the ancestor of all Pokémon. We discovered it in Guyana. Discovered. As if Mew were a fossil dug from sedimentary rock, not a divine entity birthed from Arceus's plates. And what became of that expedition? The diary trails off into madness, hinting at horrors, perhaps Mew's psychic backlash, or the wrath of guardians unseen. Game Freak later patched this in remakes, relocating the find to Guyana, South America, with a wink. But the damage is done. The coordinates embed real-world geography into a fictional plane, pulling threads that unravel the entire tapestry. These aren't isolated slips. They're fractures in the foundation. I'm echoes of a discarded reality where the Pokémon world wasn't so pristinely isolated. Early concept art from 1985 shows Tajiri grappling with a harsher vision. Pokémon as invasive species, perhaps supplanting Earth's wildlife in a cataclysmic shift. Imagine a darker genesis, not the harmonious trainer bonds we cherish, but a brutal takeover. Indian elephants, symbols of ancient megafauna, dwindling as Rhyhorn herds stampede their territories. Mew, not a benevolent progenitor, but a lab escapee from human hubris, its DNA spliced into monstrosities that devoured the old world. Whispers of this lost era surface elsewhere. Doduo's Pokédex claims it runs faster than real ostriches. Ostriches, those flightless birds of African savannas, now footnotes in a Pokémon-only wild. Kangaskhan cradles her Joey like a marsupial straight out of Australia, but with a pouch that defies biology unless you squint at extinct megafauna. And the Pokédex itself, compiled by Professor Oak in a canto teeming with these anomalies, as if he's documenting a transitional ecosystem, one foot in our reality, the other tumbling into fantasy. What if this wasn't sloppiness, but deliberate residue? A breadcrumb trail to a buried truth. The Pokémon world as a post-apocalyptic remnant, where real animals clung to survival amid the rise of godlike beasts. Retcons in Brilliant Diamond, Scarlet and Violet, they erase the elephants, sanitize the journals, but the originals persist in emulation archives, fan dissections, and the collective memory of longtime trainers like you. Why keep them half buried? Fear of the implications, perhaps? A universe that shouldn't exist, stitched from our world's corpse, hints at a shadow over the game's cheerful veneer. As these contradictions pile up, they cast long shadows toward glitches in the code itself, spectral figures trapped between pixels and purgatory. But that's a veil we'll lift next, in the ghost haunting the very machine that birthed this impossible world. Those fleeting intrusions from our world, the elephants wandering Kalos plains, the expeditions chasing Mew through uncharted jungles, hint at cracks in Pokémon's reality. But what if those cracks let something slip through from the other side? In the glittering heart of Lumio City, where neon lights pierce the perpetual twilight of Pokémon X and Y, you step into an elevator alone. The doors slide shut with a soft chime. The ascent begins, humming faintly against the city's endless drizzle outside. Then, without warning, a chill seeps into the confined space. You turn, and there she is, a pale girl in a tattered Hex Maniac dress, her eyes hollow, her form flickering like a bad signal. She whispers, "No, you're not the one," before drifting backward through the wall, gone as if she never existed. You chase her, of course, bursting out onto the floor above, heart pounding, scanning empty corridors lined with shuttered shops and flickering prism tower glow. Nothing. No footsteps echo, no Pokémon cries. She's vanished, leaving only the echo of her voice looping in your mind. This isn't some scripted NPC banter or a ghost-type ambush. Developers at Game Freak coded her to defy the game's physics, floating inches above the floor, phasing through solid barriers, ignoring collision detection entirely. She's not on any map grid, not tied to any trainer battle flag. In the raw game files, she's labelled simply as an event ghost, triggered randomly in that specific elevator on North Boulevard, but only under certain conditions like visiting late at night in game time. Replay it 100 times, and the unease builds. Why that elevator? Lumio's pulses with life, cafes buzzing under Eiffel Tower shadows, street performers juggling Pokeballs, but this shaft cuts through the underbelly, connecting floors of abandoned luxury. Players reported it first in those frantic launch weeks of 2013, screenshots flooding forums. Did anyone else see the girl in the elevator? She just floated away. Theories erupted immediately. A glitch? No, too deliberate. Her sprite custom drawn with translucent edges and ethereal animations absent from standard Hex Maniacs. A teaser for post-game content? The credits rolled without answers. Dig deeper into X and Y's versions, and subtle fractures appear. In Pokémon X, her dress shimmers with a cooler blue tint, evoking Xerneas's life essence twisted into undeath. Switch to Y, and it's warmer, almost Zygarde core hues, as if she's a fragment of Carlos's guardian, rejecting you. The line, "No, you're not the one," delivered in that monotone synth voice, varies ever so slightly in pitch across language localizations. English players hear a faint echo, like words from a dream. Japanese, a sharper hiss. I anata wa sono hito janai, carrying undertones of ancient resentment. She's searching for someone specific, dismissing you outright. Implying the true one walks Carlos too, a player character who fits her criteria, unseen. But who? Theories latch onto AZ, the immortal king haunting Route 10's ultimate weapon chamber. 2,000 years ago, his war machine vaporized thousands, souls perhaps lingering in Carlos's machine-veined underbelly. Lumios's elevators, riddled with service tunnels snaking toward Geosenge's labs, mirror AZ's floating fortress. Anti-gravity tech fused with Floette's fairy magic. Is she a casualty of that blast, digitized into the city's grid? Game data hints yes. Her spawn code ties to the same event flags as Lissandra's cafe dialogue, where he muses on ghosts of ambition haunting progress. Chase her relentlessly, and rare clips show her sprite distort slightly near the Pokémon lab entrance, as if drawn to Professor Sycamore's DNA splicers. We cross-reference with Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire remakes, and echoes ripple outward. Hoenn's Sky Pillar elevators summon Rayquaza amid similar ghostly winds, but no apparition. Return to Kalos in later titles, Sun, Moon, Sword, Shield, and she scrubbed clean, elevators mundane. Yet fan dissections of X and Y's unused assets reveal more. A second ghost sprite, cloaked male figure, flagged the candidate, never triggered. Pair it with the Hex Maniacs model, and they align pixel for pixel, suggesting a duo hunt. Carlos' lore thickens the plot. Eviltal's Deathwings drained life from the war's fallen, Xerneas unable to restore pure spirits, warped by the weapon's energy. Floroma Town's flower fields, where AZ's queen perished, bloom unnaturally around Lumio subways, pollen carrying faint cries on windy days. You feel the dread settle as you ride that elevator again at midnight. The city's lights smear into streaks outside the glass, Prism Tower pulsing like a heartbeat. She's not random. Timing her spawns reveals patterns. Post-Gym 8 badge, after Terminus Cave's blind Pokémon scream through darkness. She's tied to the player's Fairy Aura stat, invisible in saves without Sylveon in party. What if she's vetting heroes, for a threat dormant since AZ's era? Kalos's machine heart, elevators as veins, power plants as organs, hums with suppressed code. Hack the ROMs, and her dialogue tree branches. You're close, but not enough light. Light. Like AZ's Floette, extinguished then revived. This ghost defies Pokemon's rules. Ghost types obey gravity, clip through grass, not steel. She warps the elevator's texture mid-appearance, eye flaws rippling like water. Sound design seals it. No footsteps, just a low-frequency drone building to her whisper, sourced from the same bank as AZ's throne room ambience. Players with audio mods isolate hidden layers, faint war cries, weapon discharge, echoes. She's the machine's memory, Carlos's collective trauma manifesting. Lumios, built on war ruins, hides vaults beneath boulevards. Real-world Paris catacombs inspired it. Bones stacked high, Game Freak layered that in. Skeletal Rattata swarms, in sewers foreshadowing. Encounters stack across playthroughs. First time she dismisses. 10th, she lingers a frame longer, eyes locking yours before fade. Friends swear she whispered names. Lysandre, a Z, cut from final audio. Connect to the ghost girl of Canalave, drifting Sinnoh libraries. Or Lavender's Marowak spirit. Kalos elevates it, embedding her in the UI itself. She's not hunting Pokémon. She's auditing trainers, seeking the one pure enough to confront buried sins. Who fails her test? Everyone so far. What happens if you pass? Game ends without reveal, but data-mined endings hint a post-credits elevator ride to nowhere. Screen fading black with her sigh. At last. Those war sins fester deeper still, pointing to the ultimate weapon's ground zero, a crater-scarred scar on some distant land where Kalos's blast truly landed. In our next chapter, the ultimate weapons ground zero, we'll trace that devastation's path, uncovering who they really fought and why the earth still weeps from it. That ghostly figure in Lumio City, whispering her cryptic warning before vanishing into the shadows, he lingers like an echo from Kalas's buried past. She searched for someone amid the glittering towers of Prism Tower, but what if her unrest stems from a cataclysm that reshaped the entire Pokémon world 3,000 years ago? A war so brutal, it demanded a weapon unlike any other, one that siphoned the very essence of life, to unleash devastation on a global scale. Deep in the heart of Kalos, where the roots of Az's castle still pierce the earth like forgotten fangs, the first whispers of conflict stirred. Picture the ancient kingdom under siege, its golden fields trampled by an invading army whose banners stretched from horizon to horizon. Warriors clad in armor forged from rare ores, their Pokémon roaring in unison, packs of Houndoom breathing rivers of flame, herds of Tauros charging like living battering rams. Kalos' king, Az, he watched from his battlements as his forces crumbled, city after city falling to flames and claws. Desperation clawed at him when his own queen perished on the battlefield, her Lucario shielding her until the end. In that abyss of grief, Az turned to forbidden alchemy, binding the life force of countless Pokémon into a colossal machine of war. He gathered them by the thousands, loyal companions from every corner of his realm. Growly the pups barely weaned from their mothers, majestic Rapidash with manes like flowing lava, even the ethereal Altaria drifting on clouds of cotton. One by one, they were led into the weapon's glowing core, their energies harvested in a ritual that twisted screams into raw power. The air hummed with their fading cries, the ground trembling as their vitality fused into a beam of pure annihilation. When Az activated it, the ultimate weapon erupted from his castle in a pillar of blinding light, scorching the sky as it arced across the world, leaving a trail of petrified ruins in its wake. But where did that beam strike? The devastation rippled outward, turning battlefields to stone and armies to eternal statues. Yet the epicenter, the true ground zero, remains a scar on the map, hidden in plain sight. Follow the weapon's likely path from Kalos' Geosenge Valley, where the launcher still stands half buried under vines and regret. It hurtled eastward, scorching the seas between regions, vaporizing fleets mid-voyage. Theories point first to Galar, that rugged isle of misty moors and ancient stadiums. At its very centre lies the Isle of Armor, but dig deeper. Windun Stadium's underbelly hides craters from impacts long forgotten, and the wild area's barren wastes match descriptions of land glassed by otherworldly heat. Galar's lore speaks of the Great Flattening, a time when skies burned red and Pokémon fled en masse, their descendants still wary of open skies. Or consider Paldea, the sun-baked peninsula where terraced cliffs plunge into azure waters. Area Zero, that yawning chasm at the region's core, screams of cataclysm. A massive crater, perfectly circular, ringed by warped crystals that pulse with faint, unnatural energy. Echoes of the weapon's life-draining pulse, Paldea's legends murmur of the endless night. When a star fell from the heavens, petrifying herds of ancient Donphan and scattering their bones across what is now the great crater of Paldea. Expeditions into its depths report statues of unknown Pokémon, frozen mid-roar, their eyes hollowed by the same petrification that claimed Az's foes. If the weapon targeted Paldea, it explains the region's obsession with immortality. Turo and Sada's own paradoxes mirroring Az's endless curse, the trajectory fits either path, a globe-spanning death ray curving with the planet's own curvature, powered by those sacrificed souls. What horrors did it unleash on impact? In Galar, perhaps it shattered the Crown Tundra's eternal ice, birthing legends like Calyrex from the Chaos. In Paldea, it could have cracked the Earth's mantle, spilling paradox Pokémon from fractured time itself. Either way, the implications chill the blood. This wasn't mere firepower, it was vampiric genocide. Thousands of Pokémon, their life forces stripped away, fueling a blast that echoed for generations. As Z wandered immortal afterward, haunted by their ghosts, his machine a tomb for the innocent, Floette's flower, the one miracle that softened his rage, bloomed amid that slaughter, yet even it couldn't undo the world's scars. Survivors' tales, etched into Colossian ruins, describe the aftermath. Skies choked with ash, rivers running black with dissolved stone, Pokémon evolving in unnatural ways from the radiation of stolen life. As Z's weapon didn't just win a war, it redefined existence, leaving craters that whisper of what happens when humanity plays God with Pokémon souls. Galar's fog-shrouded wilds, or Paldea's abyssal zero, Ground Zero calls to us still, a warning etched in petrified bone. And as we trace these ancient wounds, we stumble upon another resurrection from the ashes, one that birthed legends from simple tragedy. Coming up in Chapter 4, The Three Who Died uncover the fire that claimed ordinary Pokémon, and the divine intervention that made them eternal. While the scars of AZ's ultimate weapon still smoulder across distant craters in Gala and Paldea, let's turn our eyes to Johto's shadowed core, where flames claimed 3 ordinary lives and birthed eternal roamers of the storm. The burned tower in Reconnect City isn't just ruins, it's a monument to unchecked ambition, its blackened beams twisting like the spines of some colossal fallen beast, forever frozen in the agony of collapse. Picture the scene on that fateful night, centuries after the Carlos War had cooled. Reconnect buzzed with pilgrims, drawn to its twin towers, the burned one rivaling the elegant bell tower in height and spiritual pull. Both structures pierced the sky, symbols of harmony between humans and Pokémon, channeling the winds that carried Ho-Oh's radiant presence. But rivalry festered. Local monks, jealous of the bell tower's favour with the Rainbow Guardian, sought to summon their own legend, perhaps Lugia from the seas, or some forgotten force. They meddled with rituals, stacking sacred relics high into the rafters, whispering incantations that twisted the air with unnatural static. Then thunder cracked the heavens. A bolt, unnaturally precise, slammed into the tower's peak. Flames erupted not just from wood, but from the very relics themselves, as if the gods rejected the hubris outright. The inferno spread with a hunger no water could quench, devouring floors in roiling waves of orange and black smoke. Screams echoed through Reconnect as the structure groaned, buckling inward. Amid the chaos, 3 Pokémon, nameless in every tale, were trapped on a crumbling balcony. They huddled together, fur singed, eyes wide with primal terror as the fire licked closer, sealing their fate in a shroud of ash. Ho-Oh witnessed it all. The phoenix of the skies, perched unseen on the bell tower, descended in a blaze of prismatic light. Wings unfurled like living rainbows, it poured life back into the charred remains. From the embers rose Raikou, crackling with electric fury. Entei, a volcano incarnate spewing molten breath. Suicune, pure aurora water weaving through the ruins like liquid crystal. No longer mere beasts, they became legends, eternal wanderers, guardians of Johto's wilds, their forms enhanced beyond nature's bounds. The burned tower was left as it stands today, a hollowed husk, stairs spiralling into nothingness, floors gaping like wounds. But here's where the legend frays at the edges. Game after game, from gold and silver to heart gold and soul silver, you step into those ruins. Yourself. The air hangs heavy with soot and regret, faint howls on the wind. 3 spectral shapes dart from shadows, ghostly previews of the beasts, frozen in their final moments of flight. They tease you, vanishing before capture, as if echoing their unresolved tragedy. In the anime, Ash climbs those precarious beams, heart-pounding, only to glimpse the trio fleeing into the storm, their rebirth still raw with sorrow. Yet one detail gnaws endlessly. What were those 3 Pokémon before Ho-Oh's grace? The franchise guards this secret like a vaulted relic. No Pokédex entry, no ancient tablet, no Elder's Whisper names their species. Why? Let's sift the evidence, piece by shadowed piece, for theories that hold weight. Start with Raikou, the thunderclap incarnate. Its sleek, saber-toothed form screams feline predator, electric mane sparking like bottled lightning. The ghost in the tower mimics a quadruped with pointed ears and a whipping tail, eerily close to Johto's own Elekid. The spiky-haired electric infant, whose Pokédex notes its ceaseless energy bursts mirror Raikou's storms. Elekid evolves into Electabuzz, a brawler thriving in urban fringes, much like Raikou's city-prowling habits. But dig deeper. In Heart Gold and Soul Silver's tower event, Raikou's Phantom bolts upright with arms outstretched, evoking Electabuzz's boxing stance. No coincidence. Elekid's rarity in Johto Wilds fits a tower-trapped orphan, zapped into legend. Entei shifts the blaze to Fire's heart. Volcanic craters for eyes, a mane of living flame. It roars eruptions that scar mountainsides. The tower ghost lopes with a broad chest and curling whiskers. He's shadowing Growlithe, the loyal fire pup whose Pokédex calls it a guardian of ancient ruins. Growlithe lines the streets of Johto cities, drawn to human warmth, perfect for a temple dweller. Evolve it to Arcanine, and you get speed rivaling Raikou's, a legendary tag in its own entry, even muraled with Ho-Oh in ancient carvings. Entei's Phantom rears on hind legs, furrowing brows like an enraged hound. Growlithe's protector snarl, amplified into godhood. The fire that killed it, ironic fuel for its resurrection. Suicune completes the triad. Water's elegant spectre, crystal mane shimmering like frozen rivers. It purifies pollution with every stride, a north wind's embodiment. Its tower shade glides low and sinuous, twin crests flaring, hallmarks of Johto's Poliwag line. Poliwag hatches spineless, evolving to Poliwhirl's spiral belly, then Poliwrath or Politoed's aquatic might. But Suicune's grace points to Vaporeon, the mermaid of Eevee's kin, fluid form, watery hide that melts into streams, immune to the flames that should have drowned it in smoke. Vaporeon's Pokédex whispers of ancient bonds with humans, fitting a tower companion. The ghost's elongated snout and leg frills, pure Vaporeon silhouette, reborn as wind-weaving deity. These aren't wild guesses. They align with types, regional flavors, tower behaviors. Electric Orphan, Firehound, Water Serpent, all Johto natives, plausible tower squatters during rituals. Ho-Oh rebirthing them. Twisted evolutions into beasts unbound by Pokeballs, roaming free as penance or gift. So why the silence? Game Freak could name them anytime. A line in Legends, Arceus, a Scarlet and Violet Codex. Yet they don't. Perhaps because naming shatters the poetry. Ordinary Pokémon elevated proves legends aren't born. They're forged in loss. Reveal Elekid, Growlithe, Vaporeon, and the beasts lose mystique, reduced to super-evolved pets. Or darker. The originals were protected species, their extinction taboo. Tower monks summoned lightning recklessly. Naming implicates humans in their doom, clashing with Pokemon's harmony facade. Maybe it's meta, Game Freak hoarding the reveal for a Heart Gold remake or Black and White spiritual successor, where you breed the originals into legendaries. The ghost taunt this. Catchable phantoms in remakes, but originals forever ghosts. In Pokémon Puzzle League, hints drop of beasts as tower guardians, unnamed to preserve aura. The burned tower whispers more secrets in its cracks. Here, Brass Tower lore ties it to Ho-Oh's original perch, burned as punishment for greed. Suicune's anime purification heals Ecrutake's tainted springs, linking Fire's curse to Water's balm. Raikou races Lance's Dragonite. Entei clashes with Molten Manectric, proving beasts meddle in human affairs still. This resurrection echoes Johto's cycle, death fueling rebirth, much like the Twin Towers themselves. Ho-Oh flies between them eternally, watching for hubris. But the unnamed trio? They roam unseen. Storms in their veins, fire in their lungs, purity in their steps. Eternal what-ifs haunting every Johto night. As we leave the ashes of the burned tower behind, prepare yourself for Chapter 5. The skull beneath the mask. What hides under that bone helmet, staring back from Cubone's shadowed eyes? A truth that might unmake everything you thought you knew about loss in the Pokémon world. From the smouldering ruins of the burned tower, where ordinary Pokémon met fiery ends only to rise as legends, consider another creature, born under the shadow of death itself. Cubone, the lonely Pokémon forever cloaked in grief, shuffles through the world wearing a bone helmet that isn't just armor, it's a tombstone. Etched into its Pokédex entry, from the very first games, is this haunting truth. It wears the skull of its deceased mother. But here's where the nightmare sharpens into paradox. Eggs crack open in the Pokémon world, revealing newborns slick and vulnerable. Yet Cubone hatches fully helmeted, the bone already fused to its form, like a curse from the cradle. You can almost hear the faint clack of those bones as a fresh Cubone emerges, in eyes peering through the hollow sockets of a skull too perfectly sized for its tiny frame. Trainers have caught them in the wild, raised them from eggs in daycares across Kanto and Johto, and every single time, that helmet is there from the start. No mother in sight to hand it down post-mortem. No ritual of mourning. It's as if the egg itself absorbed the tragedy, baking the bone right into the hatching process. Biologists in the Pokémon world would tear their notes apart over this. Bones don't form that way. They grow from cartilage, layer by layer, over years, not overnight in a shell. Yet Cubone defies it, striding out ready for eternal bereavement. Poke your head into the lore of Lavender Tower, that spiraling spire of sorrow in Kanto, and the paradox deepens into outright horror. In the original Red and Blue games, you climb those fog-choked stairs, battling ghosts that flicker like bad memories until you reach the top. There, blocking the path to the Pokémon Tower's summit, stands a Marowak, Cubone's evolved form, the Bone Keeper Pokémon. But this isn't any Marowak. It's a ghost, undying. You strike it with every move in your arsenal, watch its health bar drain to nothing, and it refuses to fall. No capture, no feint, just a spectral roar before it vanishes, leaving silence heavier than the bones it once wielded. That encounter wasn't random. Game data reveals it as Marowak's spirit, forever guarding her orphaned child. The in-game radio broadcasts confirm it. A Cubone lost its mother to poachers on the tower grounds, and her ghost lingers, club in hand, protecting the living from the very humans who shattered their family. And you can't progress until you defeat her, not to destroy, but to appease. Only then does the path clear, the cycle unbroken. Marowak dies protecting her young, passes on the skull, and the Cubone grows into another Marowak, doomed to repeat the sacrifice. It's a loop etched in bone, generation after generation, where motherhood ends in martyrdom. Feel the chill of that tower air, musty with incense and regret, as you grasp the implications. Pokédex entries paint Cubone as weeping constantly, muffling its cries against the skull to hide its pain. In the anime, it firsthand, a Cubone bonding with Ash, only to reveal vulnerability beneath the mask during battles, tears streaming from those shadowed eye holes. But remove the helmet, because yes, it can be knocked off in fights, clattering to the ground like a fallen crown. And what stares back? The games tease it, shadowed glimpses in sprites, a hint of something softer, horned perhaps, but never fully unveiled. Nintendo's art books dodge it too, always framing Cubone from angles that preserve the mystery. Theories swarm like ghastly in the fog. Some whisper Cubone isn't a baby Marowak at all, but a separate species hijacking the dead for camouflage. Imagine it, a parasitic orphan, latching onto Marowak remains, evolving not through growth, but through stolen identity. the bone club it wields, fashioned from the mother's ribs, according to Sinnoh Pokédex lore, tools of mourning turned weapons of survival. Others argue it's a failed evolution line, a Marowak cub stunted by trauma, helmet fused prematurely, like a mutation gone wrong. Generation 3's Pokédex calls Cubone's mask naturally hard, implying biology at play, yet it sheds and regrows too organic for a deformity. Dive deeper into the maternal cycle, and the darkness coils tighter. In Pokémon Snap, on Pokémon Island, a Marowak cradles her Cubone, teaching it to swing that bone club under a sunset sky. Idyllic, until you recall the tower. Every Marowak entry speaks of ferocity in defense of young, a mother's rage that often spells her doom. Fire red and leaf green amp it up. It always wears its mother's skull as a mask and muffles its cries with it. The egg paradox snaps into focus here. Perhaps the skull imprints on the embryo, a genetic echo of loss, ensuring the child hatches armoured for a world that preys on the unprotected. Fan dissections, backed by game files, reveal more. In the trading card game, artwork shows Cubone unmasked occasionally. Pointed ears, a muzzle like a starved fox, eyes wide with perpetual sorrow, but official canon, silent. Generation 8's Isle of Armor, DLC nods to it with a Marowak Dojo master, bones gleaming, but still no reveal. What if the face beneath is too human? Too raw? A Pokémon world where loneliness isn't metaphor, but etched into flesh. Unmasking demands bolder speculation. Is Cubone a relic species, predating Marowak, scavenging skulls from ancient battlefields? Fossil records in the games hint at bone Pokémon lineages, like the Armorum line, but nothing links directly. Or consider Alolan Marowak, fire and ghost typed, their bones ignited by grief-fueled flames. Evolution diverging under cultural rites. Yet the helmet persists. The cycle suggests symbiosis. Cubone needs the skull to thrive. Marowak's spirit binds to it post-death. An undead partnership fueling evolution at level 30. Picture a wild encounter at night, in the Seafoam Island's depths, or Pokémon Mansion's ruins. Cubone's cry echoes, hollow through bone, drawing you closer. Battle it, knock the helmet free, and for a split second before it scrambles to reclaim it, you glimpse the truth. Pale skins stretched over fragility, a creature not built for this world without its shroud. Theories collide here. Is it deformed, dependent on maternal remains like a chick on eggshell, or distinct, a skull Pokémon, masquerading as kin? The evidence piles like bones in a pit. Eggs from bred Marowak yield helmeted Cubone every time, no exceptions across 30 generations of games. Daycare reports in Heart Gold and Soul Silver describe the phenomenon without explanation. Even in spin-offs like Pokémon Mystery Dungeon, Cubone teams lament their masks, hinting at discomfort beneath. Failed evolution. The level-up path is linear, no branches, no regressions. Different species? Pokédex classifies them as the same line, yet the hatching defies it. This skull conceals more than a face. It hides a fracture in Pokémon biology, where death midwives life in perpetual orphanhood. Marowak's ghost isn't anomaly, it's archetype. Her undying vigil the blueprint for every Cubone's solitude. And as we peel back these layers of bone and bereavement, another enigma awaits in the glow of a lighthouse beam, where science and the sea conspire in Chapter 6, the anomaly of Bill's lighthouse. What pulls a professor's invention into realms it was never meant to touch? Stay with me, you won't want to miss the signal. While the ghosts of lost Marowak mothers linger in misty caves, forever bound to their orphaned young, another spectral presence drifts across the sea, untouched by bone or blood. Its voice pierces the night from a solitary tower on Kanto's rugged coast, Bill's lighthouse, where the air hums with an unnatural frequency that no radio can fully capture. You know Bill, the inventor tucked away in his cluttered lab on Cinnabar Island, the man who digitized Pokémon for storage in those early Pokéballs. But before his fame with the PC system, Bill maintained this weathered lighthouse, a beacon for sailors navigating the treacherous waters between Kanto and Johto. One stormy evening in the anime's second season, as Ash and his friends seek shelter there during their Orange Islands detour, the tower comes alive with something far beyond a flickering lamp. Static crackles through Bill's old radio equipment, tuned to frequencies long abandoned. At first it's dismissed as interference from distant storms or malfunctioning gear. But then the signal clarifies into a low resonant call, a haunting bellow that vibrates the glass panes and sends chills racing down your spine. It's no Lapras song or crabby chatter. This is deeper, ancient, like the groan of the ocean floor rising to the surface. Bill freezes, his eyes widening behind those thick glasses. He's heard it before, he confesses, night after night, pulling him from sleep. Whatever lurks out there isn't calling for help. It's morning. The group ventures out into the gale, flashlights cutting through sheets of rain. Lightning illuminates the horizon, and there it is, a colossal shadow breaching the waves. Towering at least twice the height of a standard Dragonite, its orange scales gleam like burnished gold under the storm's fury. Wings vast enough to eclipse the moon beat slowly, stirring whirlpools below. This isn't some inflated Wailord or bloated Gyarados. It's a Dragonite, but on a scale that defies the Pokédex's measurements. Its serpentine body coiling through the surf with effortless power. Bill explains he's tracked these anomalies for years. Migratory patterns disrupted, ships vanishing without trace, all traced back to this stretch of sea. The giant Dragonite circles the lighthouse once, its eyes piercing amber slits, locking onto the tower as if recognizing an old friend. Then it unleashes that call again, a sound that rattles your bones, layered with sorrow and solitude. Eitway, it's not aggressive, it's elegiac, echoing across empty waters where once a flock might have gathered. What makes this encounter so profoundly unsettling is the timing. This episode aired in 1999, years before the Galar region's Dynamax phenomenon turned giant Pokémon into a mechanic. No max potatoes, no power spots, no ancient terrastall energies to explain the swell. This Dragonite simply exists, oversized and anomalous, as if pulled from a forgotten era of the world's history. Bill speculates it could be a relic from the ancient seas, a survivor of cataclysms that reshaped the continents, the same wars that birthed AZ's ultimate weapon perhaps, or the floods that scattered the legendary beasts. But why this Dragonite? Dragonite, the pseudo-legendary pinnacle of the Dratini line, already commands awe in the Pokédex. Wise, he heroic, capable of circling the globe in 16 hours. Yet this specimen dwarfs even those tales. Its call suggests kinship lost, maybe the last guardian of sunken ruins, summoning kin that never answer. In the anime, it departs into the storm, after one final gaze at Bill's light, vanishing as abruptly as it appeared. No battle, no capture, no resolution. Just a glimpse of majesty laced with tragedy. Dive deeper into the lore, and the questions multiply. Game canon echoes this subtly. In gold, silver and crystal, Olivine City's lighthouse, linked thematically to Bill's coastal vigils, pulses with unexplained cries on the radio. Tune in at the right moment, and you catch fragments of roars that match Dragonite's timbre, interspersed with static that Bill himself might analyse. Professors across regions log oversized Pokémon sporadically. The Crystal Onix in Misty's domain, mega-evolved behemoths later. But this Dragonite predates them all, uncategorized, unstudied. Why has it never resurfaced? No expeditions from Sylph Company, no research papers from Oak or Rowan. In a world where Mewtwo's origins spark global hunts and Lugia's storms draw fleets, this titan slips through the cracks. Theories whisper of deliberate omission. Perhaps it's tied to the red Gyarados anomaly at the Lake of Rage, mutagens amplifying size, or prehistoric bloodlines predating Arceus' creation myth. Its haunting call implies extinction's shadow, the last of a mega-primitive strain, too vast for modern skies, retreating to abyssal depths where Dynamax can't reach. Bill packs up the lighthouse soon after, retreating to his lab. But the radio logs persist in fan archives. Trainers sailing Johto's routes still report echoes on windy nights, faint enough to dismiss as memory. Yet those who heard it full-throated know better. That Dragonite wasn't just big, it was alone, its bellow a dirge for a world that forgot its giants. As the waves reclaim their silence, we turn our gaze to shadows even more deceptive, whispers of a false god masquerading among the divine. In the next chapter, The Legend of the False God, uncover the mural that lied to us all. That haunting call of the giant Dragonite still lingers in the salty air of Bill's lighthouse, a solitary echo from a lineage that time forgot. But legends like that one aren't the only ones carved into the shadows of history, whispering of Pokémon elevated to godlike status through human reverence or something far older. Or, consider this. Deep in the misty caves of the Kanto region, explorers once uncovered an ancient mural etched into stone by hands long turned to dust, depicting a sacred gathering of the skies. Ho-Oh soars at the centre, its rainbow wings unfurled like a divine banner, flanked by the legendary birds, Articuno, with its crystalline feathers glinting like eternal frost, Zapdos crackling with thunder that could split mountains, and Moltres trailing flames that dance without consuming. These are the icons of legend, guardians of storm and blaze, their forms immortalized as harbingers of elemental fury. Yet there, etched with equal reverence beside them, stands Arcanine, not as a mere beast, but as an equal in this pantheon of the extraordinary. Picture the scene from those early anime days. A young trainer stumbles upon this relic, flashlight trembling against the damp cavern walls, revealing Arcanine's majestic silhouette roaring skyward, mane flowing like molten gold. The mural doesn't isolate it, no, it integrates Arcanine into the flock, as if the ancient artists witnessed it, commanding tempests alongside the birds. Why, what forgotten cataclysm united a fire-breathing canine with these avian deities? The stone bears no inscription, no hieroglyphs to decode, just the raw imagery of worship, suggesting Arcanine once held a throne among the true legends. Now, lean in closer to your Pokédex, that digital tome of half-truths and enigmas. Flip to Arcanine, and there it is, in black and white from the earliest generations. A Pokémon explicitly crowned legendary. Not metaphorically, not poetically. This majestic hound is described as a creature born of noble breeding. Its growlith forebears infused with the blood of saints, granting it speed to outrun winds and loyalty fiercer than any storm. A legendary Pokémon, the entry declares outright, the only non-legendary species to claim that mantle so boldly. In a world where legendaries are boxed into rarefied categories, singular beings like Mewtwo or Mew, unbound by evolution or breeding, Arcanine defies the rules. It breeds, it evolves, packs roam the wilds. Yet the Pokédex insists on this exalted status, echoing the mural's testimony. But here's where the lore fractures like brittle stone. In the official canon, Arcanine isn't legendary. No Pokédex update in 30 years has walked that claim back explicitly, but the classification systems of later generations relegate it firmly to the ordinary elite. Pseudo-legendary at best in power tiers, but never touching the mythic echelon of the birds or beasts. Ultra beasts, mythicals, sub-legendaries, Arcanine fits none. It's a paradox etched into the franchise's DNA, hailed as legendary in its birthplace lore, then quietly demoted as the world expanded. Did Game Freak intend this as a deliberate mystery, a nod to ancient human error? Or was Arcanine, in those formative design days, genuinely slated for legendary glory? Think back to the genesis of Kanto's pantheon. The legendary birds emerged as the original elemental trio: ice, electric, fire, perfectly balanced forces of nature, each embodying a primal fury. But prototypes leak from the development archives hint at flux. Early concepts shuffled fire types, with canine silhouettes appearing in concept art near Moltres sketches. What if Arcanine was prototyped as the third bird's counterpart, a ground-bound fire legend to anchor the skies? Imagine the mural as a snapshot of that abandoned vision. Ho-Oh blessing not just the birds, but a false god, a pretender to the throne who almost ascended. The artists, perhaps chronicling a real-world event where an Arcanine pack communed with the legends during a cataclysmic storm, immortalized it prematurely. Delve deeper into the anime's undercurrents. That cave mural appears amid visions of Ho-Oh, the rainbow phoenix tied to resurrection and purity, much like its role in reviving the legendary beasts from burned tower ashes. Arcanine shares that fire motif, its blazing speed a terrestrial mirror to Ho-Oh's aerial grace. Fans have pored over frame-by-frame analyses. The positioning isn't random. An Arcanine rears up directly below Moltres, flames intertwining, as if birthed from the same forge. And in folklore echoes, Japanese tales of noble dogs guarding sacred flames, Arcanine draws from Inugami myths, spirit hounds elevated to near divinity. The mural could be a cultural fusion, ancient Cantonians blending imported legends with local beasts, accidentally anointing Arcanine eternal. Yet the silence from the creators is deafening. No art book clarifies. No director's cut restores its status. In remakes and sequels, Arcanine remains a majestic workhorse, loyal companion in gyms, Eviolite powerhouse in battles, but never summoned from a legend beacon. Pokédex revisions tiptoe around it, praising its beauty without reigniting the legendary spark. Is this deliberate misdirection, baiting us to question what makes a legend? True legendaries don't breed, they manifest, they warp reality. Arcanine? It could be your partner tomorrow. The mural mocks that divide, placing the false god shoulder to shoulder with immortals, as if daring us to reconsider the hierarchy, and the implications ripple outward. If Arcanine warranted such ancient veneration, what other common Pokémon hide mythic roots? Packs that quelled wildfires, with controlled blazes, earning Ho-Oh's favour. A lost era where Arcanine led migrations across continents, birds wheeling overhead in tribute. The Pokédex's lone legendary tag feels like a relic of that truth, preserved amid retcons. Or perhaps it's a translation quirk, early localizations amplifying poetic license. But the Japanese entries mirror the reverence, calling it a magnificent beast bordering on sacred. As the cavern's chill seeps into your bones, that mural fades back into obscurity, leaving Arcanine as the eternal outsider, worshipped, demoted, unexplained. Was it truly meant for the original legendary trio? A fire anchor to the bird's storm? The stone keeps its secret, but the question burns brighter than any mane. That flicker of elemental anomaly pulls us toward even stranger depths next, where the crystal Onix and elemental deviants await, shimmering in underground lakes with secrets that defy type charts entirely. Before we dive deeper into this incredible journey, I'm curious, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop a comment below and let our global community know. And if you're finding this as mind-blowing as I am, hit that like button to help more people discover this story. The ancient murals whisper of Pokémon that blur the lines between ordinary and divine. Like that majestic Arcanine etched beside true legends, its Pokédex title echoing a status the world never granted. But what if such deviations weren't confined to stone carvings or forgotten lore? What if they slithered through caverns, gleaming under torchlight, challenging everything we know about type affinities and evolution itself? Deep in the first season of the anime, Ash and his companions stumble upon Sunnyside Island, a misty speck off the Kanto coast where jagged cliffs plunge into churning seas. Drawn by rumours of a shimmering guardian, they venture into a labyrinthine cave system, the air thick with the drip of unseen water and the faint, crystalline chime that seems to pulse from the walls themselves. Flashlights cut through the gloom, revealing pools of still water that mirror the rough-hewn rock above. Then a tremor shakes the earth. From the depths rises the crystal Onix, not the familiar serpentine behemoth of granite and iron, but a radiant colossus forged from flawless, multifaceted crystal, each segment refracting light into rainbows that dance across the cavern like captured auroras. This wasn't some trick of the light or a mere cosmetic quirk. Normal Onix, those towering rock and steel titans, crumble under water-type assaults, their porous bodies soaking up the deluge like sponges in a storm. Water is their Achilles heel, a fundamental weakness etched into their very typing. Yet this crystalline aberration shrugged off a torrent from Ash's Squirtle as if it were a gentle mist. The attack splashed harmlessly across its prismatic hide, absorbed and scattered into harmless sparkles, leaving the beast unscathed. It coiled through the underground lake with effortless grace, its body half submerged, thriving where its rocky kin would dissolve. Pikachu's electric blasts fared no better, fizzling against the insulating facets that turned thunder into fleeting glimmers. Team Rocket, ever the unwitting testers, unleashed their own watery barrage, only for it to bead and roll away, the Onix emerging stronger, its surface polished to an even brighter sheen. This immunity defied the rigid rules of Pokémon battles, hinting at a physiology rewritten at the molecular level. Imagine the implications. A rock-type Pokémon, not just resistant, but utterly impervious to the element that should erode it. What forged such a marvel? Geothermal pressures crystallizing its hide over eons? A symbiotic crystal virus rewriting its DNA? The episode leaves us dangling on that precipice, the Onix vanishing back into the lake's embrace after a territorial display, its secrets sealed in the dark. Fast forward through decades of Pokémon media, and you'd think we'd have answers. Regional variants burst onto the scene in Alola, twisting familiar species into exotic forms adapted to island life. Sandcastle Sandshrew, Icy Alolan Vulpix. These evolutions make sense sculpted by environment and diet, their type shifts logical extensions of survival. The Steel Sand Alolan Onix, a desert dweller's armour, still vulnerable to water's erosive kiss. It fits the pattern, adaptation within bounds. Then come Delta species from the trading card game, those experimental anomalies slapping new types onto old bodies. Electric Crystal Onix, perhaps, a gleaming with synthetic sheen. Fans latched onto them as canon explanations, but peel back the layers and they crumble. Deltas are artificial constructs, born in labs or hidden facilities, their changes imposed rather than innate. The Sunnyside Onix pulsed with natural vitality, no Pokeball scars or human tampering in sight. Its crystal wasn't a superficial coating, but the essence of its being, grown from within, immune to water, not by fiat but by refracting and dispersing the liquid on contact, physics bending to biology in ways no Delta card ever simulated. Regional forms, tweak typings predictably. This Onix shattered the mould entirely. Linger on that underground lake for a moment. Onix burrow through mountains, devouring minerals to fuel their endless growth, but water spells doom for their composition. Why would one choose submersion as home? Perhaps the crystals formed in mineral-rich aquifers, pressures fusing silica and quartz into an unbreakable lattice. Or maybe it's a relic of ancient cataclysms, mutated during the same primordial upheavals that birthed legendaries from ordinary beasts. The anime teases this lost science early on. Pokémon, as dynamic, mutable forces, prone to elemental deviance under extreme conditions. Remember the Porygon episode, glitching realities? Or Mewtwo's engineered genesis? Mutations were the wild frontier then, full of potential. Yet the franchise turned away, never revisiting this vein. No spin-off lore, no Pokédex codicil, no researcher dissecting a captured shard. Later giants like the Dragonite of Bill's Lighthouse or Dynamax behemoths get mechanics. Explanations tied to energy fields or Terra crystals, but the crystal Onix? Silenced. It lingers as a ghost in the machine, a reminder that Pokémon evolution isn't a neat flowchart, but a chaotic alchemy. What other subterranean freaks coil unseen, mocking our type charts? Caves worldwide hum with possibility, Slateport's depths, cerulean caverns, the twisting tunnels of Victory Road. Each rumble could herald another deviant, immune to fire or steel. Typing flipped by forgotten forces. This elemental rebellion echoes broader inconsistencies, doesn't it? Pokédex entries brim with anomalies, Magikarp summoning storms, but only in myth. Grimer born from sludge, yet hatching from eggs. The crystal Onix embodies the unresolved tension, a world where science brushes against the supernatural, mutations slipping through explanatory cracks. A Game Freak could retrofit it with terastallization, that Kalos-born phenomenon where crystals alter affinities mid-battle. Terra types shift vulnerabilities, granting temporary immunities, but the Onix predates it by seasons. Its change permanent, evolutionary, not a battle gimmick. And even Terra crystals shatter post-use. This one's endured. As we surface from Sunnyside's shadowed waters, blinking into the night, one mystery coils tighter still. A trainer who swept leagues with shadows of legend, vanishing like smoke after one cataclysmic clash. In the next chapter, the enigma of Tobias, will unearth the man behind the Darkrai, his unseen arsenal haunting Sinnoh's halls. What Pokémon slumbered in his final slots, and why did the anime bury him alive? While elemental oddities like that crystalline behemoth on Sunnyside Island slip back into the shadows, never to be catalogued or challenged again, some enigmas thrust themselves into the heart of Pokémon history, demanding the world's gaze before vanishing just as abruptly. In the electric roar of the Sinnoh League, amid the packed stadiums of Sunyshore City, where dreams clash under blinding floodlights, a figure emerged from nowhere. No prior battles, no gym badges flashing on his chest, no whispers of his journey through the region. Just a trainer named Tobias, stepping onto the field like a storm cloud parting the sky, his first Pokémon a Darkrai. You remember the footage, don't you? That spectral nightmare uncoiling from its Pokeball, eyes glowing like black holes. Bad dreams rippling through the air before Ash's Snorlax even hit the ground. Tobias didn't announce himself with flair or backstory, he simply dominated. Darkrai dismantled Ash's carefully built team. Swellow, Staraptor, Snorlax, Torkoal all felled in a haze of dark voids and nightmare pulses that left the crowd breathless. And when Pikachu stood defiant, sparking with that unyielding electricity, Tobias recalled his legend without a word and unleashed Latios. A sleek azure dragon, slicing through the arena, its psychic waves crumpling Pikachu in an instant. 5 badges worth of Ash's Sinnoh companions reduced to shadows. The scoreboard blinked victory for Tobias, and the league finals awaited. But who was he? That's the fracture in the tale, the unsolved splinter that festers. Tobias had qualified for the top 16 somehow, perhaps through preliminary matches off-screen, or maybe the league bent rules for a wildcard ghost. No hometown mentioned, no rivalries hinted at, no interview clips where he boasts about his training regimen. He sweeps through the tournament like a force of nature, crushing opponent after opponent, until the championship match against the defending champion, Cynthia. Her Garchomp, that monstrous dragon of raw power, faces off against Darkrai again. The battle's broadcast cuts short in our records. No full play-by-play, just stunned commentary as Darkrai's attacks overwhelm the Sinnoh Elite Four ace herself. Tobias wins the league. Then nothing. He forfeits no rematch, grants no press conference, fades into ether as if the league was just a detour on some greater path. Now, linger on his team, because that's where the speculation ignites like a flamethrower in dry grass. We saw Darkrai, the pitch-black bringer of eternal sleep, a mythical whose mere presence warps reality. Latios, the red-eyed guardian of the skies, Eon Pokémon, with speed that blurs the horizon and psychic might to shatter mountains. 6 Pokémon total in his party. Standard rules. That leaves 4 unseen titans. What horrors did he hold in reserve? Fans pored over the episodes, frame by frame, dissecting every shadow in his silhouette, every glint of his Pokéballs. Power levels first, those we glimpsed were god tier. Darkrai's moveset? Dark Void, a banned nightmare that sucks foes into slumber from which they rarely wake, paired with Focus Blast for sheer annihilation. Latios? Dragon Pulse roaring like thunder. Luster Purge bleaching attacks into oblivion, all at levels that outscaled league norms. Cynthia's Garchomp, a beast who toppled legends, couldn't touch it. So the Unseen 4, they had to eclipse even that. Theories swarm, Dialga and Palkia, Sinnoh's time-space lords, fitting the region's lore like a glove. Tobias's quiet demeanour screamed, beyond mortal trainer. Maybe he hailed from a pocket dimension, commanding the Lake Guardians, or even Arceus itself, as aces. Or Giratina, the renegade from the distortion world, explaining his sudden arrivals and departures through rifts unseen. Consider the scaling. Normal league trainers grind badges against regional staples. Staravia, Bibarel, the everyday warriors. Tobias? Legendaries from the jump, their base stats dwarfing anything Ash trained. Darkrai's 270 total eclipses, Pikachu's 309, but factor in perfect IVs, hyper-trained EVs, and moves forbidden in standard play. Latios hits psychic barriers at max speed Cynthia's team couldn't breach. The 4 shadows, if they mirrored this, we're talking creation trio levels. Dialga freezing time mid-battle, Palkia warping space to dodge every strike. Or perhaps the Swords of Justice, territorial beasts who'd view the league as a playground. Their power wasn't just high, it was narrative-breaking, calibrated to halt progress cold. And that's the deepest cut. Tobias exists solely to stop the hero. In Pokemon's grand arc, Ash claws toward victory. Badge by badge, league by league, always one step from the summit. Enter Tobias, the enigma wall. No redemption arc, no mentorship moment. I know I was testing you speech. He's a plot device incarnate, a black box trainer who embodies the world's untouchable peaks. Why? To remind us the ladder has rungs beyond reach, that for every Pikachu, there's a Darkrai waiting in the wings. He halts Ash's Sinnoh triumph, sends our protagonist tumbling back to square one, fueling that eternal wanderlust. But at what cost to the lore? No origin story in manga sidebars, no game's cameo, no best wishes nod. Game Freak and the anime staff left him a void, fueling fan theories from he's a new age cultist to time-displaced champion from a lost era. Picture the stadium echoes fading, confetti settling on empty stands. Tobias pockets his trophy. Or does he? Rumours swirl of him vanishing mid-celebration, Pokeballs humming with restrained cataclysm. His 4 unseen allies, slumbering gods perhaps, their cries a whisper in the wind. Were they Cresselia to counter Darkrai's nightmares? Rayquaza, coiled apex, or something wilder? Regigigas, the continent mover, stirring ancient grudge? Their power levels mock our understanding, suggesting Tobias trained not in forests or roots, but in myth-shrouded realms, where legendaries bow willingly. This isn't oversight, it's intentional shadow. In a series built on revelation, evolving forms, hidden grottos, Tobias defies it. He warps the league's meritocracy, proving some trainers transcend the system. Ash presses on, unbreakable, but the enigma lingers. What if those 4 shadows held Sinnoh's dial itself? Fans still debate on forums lit by midnight screens, piecing together stat spreads and move pools from inference alone. As we pull back from this league phantom, his vanishing act mirroring the crystal Onix's plunge into depths, another riddle awaits in the ruins of creation itself. Chapter 10. The alphabet of creation unravels the silent script etched by Arceus's unseen hand. Those floating eyes that spell secrets no mortal tongue can voice. What forms do they truly weave, and why do they hunger for the god who birthed them? Stay with me as we decipher the letters that birthed the world. Tobias vanished as mysteriously as he arrived, leaving us to wonder about the full extent of his legendary arsenal. Those 4 unseen Pokémon that could have rivaled the gods of Sinnoh themselves. But what if the true power brokers of that region aren't the roaming titans like Darkrai or Latios? What if they lurk in plain sight, etched into the very fabric of existence, waiting to rewrite reality with a single glyph? Deep in the heart of Sinnoh's lore, where the boundaries between myth and mechanism blur, you'll find the unknown. These aren't your typical Pokémon. They don't roar or battle. They simply are flat, eye-like forms drifting through ancient ruins, each one a perfect embodiment of a letter from A to Z, plus those enigmatic question mark and exclamation shapes. Shaped like black holes with staring pupils, they hover silently, their bodies rippling like ink in water. You can almost hear the faint hum they emit, a vibration that resonates in your bones, as if the universe itself is murmuring secrets through them. Their connection to Arceus, the alpha Pokémon, the unchained creator deity, runs far deeper than a casual Pokédex mention. Arceus didn't just birth the world from its 1,000 arms, it wove it from symbols. The unknown are its quill, its ink, the alphabet from which all creation spells itself into being. Not as metaphor, but as cold, terrifying mechanics. Without the unknown's precise forms, reality unravels. They've been spotted swarming in clusters, forming massive patterns on cavern walls, spirals, eyes, words in a language older than time. In the anime, they bend space itself, pulling trainers into pocket dimensions where thoughts manifest as stone. But the real horror surfaces in the games, where their presence isn't decorative, it's mandatory. Take the Sinjo ruins, hidden away in Johto, but pulsing with Sinnoh's cosmic heartbeat. You arrive after chasing whispers of Arceus, stepping into a chamber where the air thickens with psychic static. The walls shimmer, alive with unknown script, thousands of them, orbiting like electrons around a nucleus. Arceus manifests here, not as a fleeting vision, but as a forge of worlds. It summons plates of pure-type energy, each one a shard of elemental lore. Draco, Flame, Splash. But here's the key. You can't trigger this without the unknown. They decode the ruins' inscriptions, aligning into massive murals that depict creation's dawn. Dialga emerges from time-warped fog, Palkia from spatial rifts, even Giratina clawing through from the distortion world. The unknown choreograph it all, their forms twisting into arrows, circles, commands that force these gods into obedience. Why are they essential? Because physical reality demands a blueprint. Arceus' raw potential, a void pregnant with infinities. Alone it can't stabilize matter. It needs syntax, grammar. The unknown provide that. Their glyphs aren't random. They're the visual language of the universe, a pictographic code predating human speech. In the ruins, they form sentences, the original mythos of Sinnoh, etched by hands that weren't human. Scholars, fan theorists piecing together data files, have decoded fragments. One pattern reads as alpha births the egg, another as forms cleave the void. But push deeper, and it turns nightmarish. Unknown don't evolve or breed. They emerge fully formed from dimensional tiers, drawn to places of high creation energy. They're not alive in the way Pikachu is. They're fragments of Arceus' consciousness, splintered scribes enforcing its will. Imagine encountering a swarm in the wild, Relic Castle in Unova, or the Salacion ruins back in Sinnoh. The air grows heavy. Your screen glitches with floating letters. Trainers report headaches. Visions of unborn worlds. In Pokémon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, the Sinjo event peaks with Unknown flooding the arena, their eyes locking onto yours as legendaries clash. Arceus doesn't speak. The Unknown do it for it, spelling create across the sky in living black. It's no coincidence that Arceus's type echoes the Unknown's mystery forms. Both defy classification, both hint at a meta layer where Pokémon logic fractures. This link terrifies because it implies control beyond gods. Unknown have warped reality without Arceus present. In the anime's Spell of the Unknown episode, they trap an entire town in a crystalline prison, manifesting a new Pokémon from human grief. Molly Hale's pain fueled them, but who fueled the Unknown? They feed on intent, on the desire to make something real. In that sense, they're the universe's autocorrect, dangerous when glitched. A single malformed glyph could rewrite physics, gravity inverting, time looping, your own body dissolving into letters. The Sinjo ruins decode this further. The event isn't just a boss rush, it's a ritual. Unknown patterns on the floor mirror the Creation Trio's plates, suggesting Arceus uses them as a compiler. Without their alignment, the plates shatter, legendaries despawn, reality snaps back. Official art shows Unknown orbiting Arceus's wheel, each letter slotting into its spokes like keys to dimensions. Pokédex entries whisper it. The ringing of their cries sends Shuppet flying. But reverse it. What sends the Unknown flying? Arceus's unspoken command, binding them as eternal servants. You feel it in the quiet moments, don't you? Staring at your team in the box, wondering if a stray Unknown could rewrite your save file. They're the bridge between code and cosmos, the reason Pokémon worlds feel alive yet scripted. Arceus dreams in their alphabet. We live the translation. And as these glyphs fade into the shadows, another mystery stirs in the fog-shrouded streets of Unsolved City, a spectral girl tethered to a deceptive balloon, pulling innocence toward forgotten graves. What unholy bond links her to Drifloon, and why does her gaze pierce the veil between life and the drift? Tune in next for Chapter 11, The Girl and the Drifloon. While the Unknown etch the blueprint of existence into Sinnoh's ancient stones, a far more personal horror haunts the narrow streets of Unsolved City, where fog rolls off the canals like the breath of something long dead. You've probably wandered those pixelated docks yourself, crossing the great iron bridge that spans the murky waters, the library's silhouette looming like a forgotten tomb. But locals whisper of nights when the mist thickens unnaturally, and a girl appears no older than 10, her dress tattered and pale as moonlight, her eyes hollow voids that fix on you before she turns and drifts toward the water's edge. She doesn't walk, she glides, feet inches above the cobblestones, leaving no ripple in the puddles she passes over. This isn't some glitch in the game code. Reports date back to the earliest playthroughs of Diamond and Pearl, players frozen in their controllers as she materializes from nowhere, only to vanish when you chase her shadow down alleyways that dead end into brick. Unsolved, with its ceaseless hum of ship horns and clanging machinery, suddenly falls silent around her. And then come the stories from the city folk themselves, the ones who live there in the lore, trading hushed warnings by gaslight. Children go missing, you see. Not every night, but often enough to scar the collective memory. A boy last seen tugging at a strange balloon by the docks, a girl who chased a drifting shape past the bridge, her laughter echoing until it wasn't hers anymore. The elders blame the fog or the warp gates that flicker open in the library's depths, but the pattern points to something tugging them away upward into the overcast sky. And at the city's very entrance stands Drifloon, that deceptively cheerful purple balloon Pokémon, bobbing innocently on its stringy tails. If you talk to it on a Friday, yes, the game tracks the days, you hear its eerie claim. Come back then, and the girl might take you with her. Players dismissed it as flavor text at first, a quirky bit of world building. But dig into the Pokédex, and the cheerful facade cracks wide open. Drifloon doesn't just float aimlessly, it seeks out the small and vulnerable, wrapping its gaseous body around a child's waist before ascending, silent and swift, into the afterlife. Picture it. A kid at the canal's edge, reaching for what looks like a lost toy caught in the breeze. The balloon swells, tendrils coiling like smoke, and up they go. No cry for help, just the fading patter of shoes against air. Ruby and Sapphire spell it plain. Drifloon grabs unsuspecting children and whisks them off. Diamond sharpens the blade. If unattended, it carries them away to who knows where. But Sun and Moon, they peel back the horror. Drifloon's body is filled with souls, trapped, restless spirits, packed so tight that when the balloon bursts under pressure, their screams flood out in a chorus that chills the marrow. This isn't metaphor. In the Pokémon world, these entries read like eyewitness accounts, autopsy reports from a reality where the dead don't stay quiet. And Canalav's Ghost Girl? She fits the profile too perfectly. Sightings spike on Fridays when Drifloon patrols the gates. She lingers near the water where bodies might wash up, or the library where tales of the lost are archived in dusty tomes. One theory ties her to the missing kids themselves, a collective echo. The first victim who now guides the rest, her form frayed from years of half-existence. But why her? Why Canalave, with its bridges that seem to lead nowhere, and canals that swallow secrets whole? The city sits on Sinnoh's western fringe, a hub for sailors trading tales of phantoms at sea. Maybe she drowned there, chasing her own Drifloon into the depths, only to resurface as its eternal partner. Or perhaps Hypno lurks in the shadows too, that pendulum-swinging hypnotist known for abducting children in the anime's Lavender Town arc. But Drifloon's entries dominate the dread here, its purpose explicit. Harvest the young for the great beyond. You feel it in the game's atmosphere, don't you? The way the music dips low as you approach the docks, the screen tinting cooler, almost blue. Players share screenshots of her frozen mid-stride, glitching through lampposts, her hair whipping in a wind you can't hear. Her forums overflow with accounts. She followed me home, heard her humming outside my window. Urban legend bleeds into reality, because what if Drifloon isn't alone? What if every balloon sighted at twilight carries a cargo of the departed? This blurs the line Pokémon tiptoes around, the idea that some species don't coexist peacefully with humans. They hunt. Drifloon embodies it most brutally, a predator disguised as plaything, stuffing its hollow form with stolen lives until the seams split. Compare it to the ghost types we romanticize, Ghastly's playful mischief, Miss Magius's spells, but Drifloon's agenda is terminal. It doesn't possess or prank. It collects, ferries souls to whatever void awaits beyond the clouds, and returns lighter, hungrier. In Canalave, the legend solidifies. The girl isn't random, she's the marker, the lure. Children drawn to her ethereal glow, then snared by the balloon at her side. Missing posters would flutter in the game's lore, faded by rain, names like echoes of the Pokédex screams. No rescue team arrives, no professor explains it away. She drifts on, a sentinel of the snatched, her presence a warning etched into Sinnoh's fog. And it doesn't end with her. The pattern repeats in whispers from other regions, Drifblim herds lifting villages whole in older entries, but Canalave etches it deepest, where the ghost girl and her balloon patrol the borders between life and the drift. Yet even this spectral partnership pales against the blank slate of power that lurks in the code's forgotten corners. Waiting in Chapter 12. The Void type, a mystery so empty it devours everything we think we know. Those spectral figures drifting through Canalave's fog, forever tied to Drifloon's grim harvest of souls, pull us towards something even more elusive, a shadow etched into the very code of Pokémon's reality. Before the polished typings of fire, water and thunder dominated every battle, there was a type that defied naming altogether. 3 question marks, unknown, the Void. You first encounter it not in some forgotten ruin, but in the heat of Generation 2's fray. Picture the gold and silver cartridges humming in your Game Boy, the Johto Nights alive with glitchy static. There, amid the spectral glow of Lavender Town's echoes, lies the move Curse. Select it on a ghost-type Pokémon like Gengar, and something unnatural unfolds. Your foe doesn't just lose health over turns, it sacrifices a slice of its own life force, or trading hit points for a lingering torment on the target. But scroll to its type chart, and instead of the expected ghost emblem, 3 stark question marks stare back. No element, no weakness, no affinity, just ambiguity coded into the game's heart. Developers at Game Freak never breathed a word of explanation. No Pokédex entry, no lore snippet in the manuals. Players traded whispers on early forums, dissecting battle logs from Heart Gold and Soul Silver remakes where remnants lingered like digital ghosts. Why this enigma for Curse? In those primal days, before Generation 4's type chart expanded, question marks weren't a placeholder, they were functional. Curse hit every Pokémon for neutral damage, bypassing resistances as if it existed outside the elemental wheel. A move from the abyss, pulling vitality into nothingness. Fast forward to Diamond and Pearl, and the void begins to recede. Curse sheds its question marks, reborn as pure ghost. The change ripples through the games. No more anomalies in type matchups. Modern cores scrub it clean. Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet, all compliant. Yet traces persist, buried in data mines that fans unearth like forbidden relics. Emulation runs of Fire Red and Leaf Green reveal the typing hard-coded, unyielding. Why erase it? Was it a beta relic from a scrapped type system, or something deliberate, a nod to Pokémon's unseen underbelly? The true chill settles when you confront Arceus itself. The alpha Pokémon, creator of universes, bursts forth in Platinum's Hall of Origin. Its plates, 18 shimmering orbs, each twisting its form to match Fire's blaze or Dragon's roar, seem complete. But load the raw game files, and Arceus's default plate, the plain plate, or its absent counterpart, registers as question marks. Type 3 question marks. A god programmed with a typing no player can wield, no move can counter. In battle sims, it laughs at type charts, dealing neutral blows to all, as if Arceus hovers beyond creation's boundaries. Theories swarm like unowned spelling doom. Some data divers point to internal builds, where question marks governed typeless entities, wildcards immune to elemental lockdown. Others unearth Japanese debug menus from Generation 3 flashing, alongside colourless sprites, but the deepest cut leads to Sun and Moon's sterile labs. There, type null emerges, a synthetic husk swaddled in a helmet suppressing its primal rage. Its name screams void, null, the absence. No type at birth, or so the lore hints. Chew until the memory drive awakens Silvali's multi-type mimicry. Dig deeper, and null mirrors the forgotten curse. Both engineered anomalies. Curse, a move once void-born, now ghost-veiled. Null, a Pokémon forged to combat Ultra Beasts, its RKS system, echoing Arceus's plates. Official art shows Null's mask cracked, revealing eyes that pierce like the question marks' blank stare. Pokédex logs whisper of its creation in Ether Paradise. But who authored the blueprint? Files from Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon hide strings. Type, echoing Arceus's code from a decade prior. Is Null the physical echo of that digital void? A precursor meant to wield the question mark typing before corporate scissors trimmed it away. Consider the implications under Sinnoh's starry vault, where Arceus first strode. Gets the distortion world warps types already. Giratina's domain defies norms. Yet Arceus's persists in Platinum's code, even post-Curse's retype. Hackers inject it into custom battles. Pokémon with question mark typing shrug off super effective hits, their attacks piercing every shield. Neutral to all offensively and defensively, a perfect counter to the type chart's tyranny. Game Freak coded this power, then sealed it. Why gift the god a forbidden form, usable only in glitched encounters or ROM hacks? Fan dissections reveal more. In Legends, Arceus, the Hisui region's ancient fury. Plate mechanics evolve, but the base form's data ghost the original, question marks lurking in texture files. Curse 2 ties back. Its original void source speculated as a curse of creation, unmaking bonds like Arceus unraveling Dialga's time. A null's lore cements it, born to nullify threats from other dimensions, its typing suppressed until perfected. Perfected into what? Silverlee's rainbow adaptability, or something purer, the void incarnate? The erasure feels deliberate, a veil over Pokemon's foundational chaos. Pre-Generation 4, when Mewtwo's psychic dominance ruled unbalanced metas, question marks enforced mystery. Post-retype, battles streamline, but the god remembers. Load Arceus in a Gen 4 emulator without plates and it battles as untouchable, relentless. Modern ports like Brilliant Diamond excise it entirely, replacing with normal. A cover-up? Or evolution? Hiding the void lest players glimpse the code's fragility? Envision the boardrooms at Creatures Inc., staring at spreadsheets. Triple question marks crash-type calculators. Baffle AI. Or better to bury it with Curse's ghost rebirth. Let null hint at voids without unleashing them. Yet Arceus endures, its programming a testament. Even gods bear marks of the unfinished. What battles raged in debug rooms, pitting? Arceus against type-locked legends? What Ultra Beast horrors demanded null's nullity? This void typing pulses through Pokemon's veins, from Johto's cursed shadows to Alola's lab-born enigmas. A type never released, yet hard-coded for the divine. Its removal sanitized the games, but the mystery festers. Curse's lost origin, null's suppressed truth, Arceus's hidden face. What other secrets lurk in the data stream, waiting for the next cartridge crack? As these voids echo into sharper forgettings, join me next for Chapter 13, the Unova Amnesia, where a champion's mind unravels in ways that defy every badge earned. Just as the elusive void type slipped away into obscurity, leaving behind only whispers in the code of forgotten moves like Curse, something equally inexplicable happened to Ash Ketchum himself, right after the Sinnoh League. You remember how he stood there, Tobias's Darkrai looming over his team, that crushing defeat echoing through the stadium. Ash had grown into a force, coordinating Pikachu's thunderbolts with Infernape's blaze kick, outmaneuvering Paul at every turn, his badges gleaming like trophies of hard-won mastery. He'd battled legendaries, synced with his Pokémon, on a level that felt almost psychic. Then Unova hits, and it's like someone wiped the slate clean. Picture Ash stepping off the boat in New Town, Pikachu on his shoulder, eyes wide with that familiar spark, but watch his first gym battle against Silent. Trips over basic type matchups, hesitates on commands that should have been instinct by now. His Pidove feints to a Pansage without a single smart switch, and Pikachu's quick attack misses, cues it nailed back in Snowpoint City. This isn't rust from travel, it's regression. Full stop. Ash, who once predicted Cynthia's Garchomp feints blindfolded in spirit, now scratches his head when Oshawott floods the field with Aquajet. Episode after episode, you see it. Forgotten strategies from Hun's contests bleeding into Sinnoh's intensity, all evaporated. He builds a new team, Tepig evolving into Embor, Snivy holding grudges like old rivals, but the core trainer? Gone. Replaced by a rookie version of himself. Ain't fumbling evolutions and league prep like it's his first circuit. Fans started calling it the Unova Amnesia, and it wasn't hyperbole. Rewind to the Sinnoh finale, Ash's Gliscor dives with X-scissor precision, Staraptor shreds through defences. Fast forward to Unova's third badge push. He leaves his Master Ball behind, loses to a random Audino Swarm, because he forgets Palpitoad's sound waves, counter grass types. It's not just losses, it's the absence. No mentions of Paul, no flashbacks to Brock's cures or Dawn's contests. His Pokédex feels brand new, inventory reset, even his hat sits a little different, like a subtle costume change signalling the shift. By the Unova League, he's scraping by against Trip, that smug photographer kid who mocks his old-school styles Ash invented seasons ago. This leads straight into the soft reboot theory, the one that keeps theorists up at night, piecing together episode guides like ancient scrolls. What happened between Sinnoh's credits and Unova's premiere? No transitional special, no movie bridging the gap. 1 minute, he's waving goodbye to Sinnoh's peaks under northern lights. The next, arriving in Unova, with Iris calling him a kid and Arceus tugging at his sleeve. Officially, it's a clean slate for new viewers. Game Freak streamlining for Black and White's launch. But dig deeper, and the cracks show. Ash references Hoenn vaguely once or twice, but Sinnoh, blank. No Barry's hyper energy, no Zoe's fire, not even Pikachu's old scars from Regis. It's as if the Nacrene Museum's DNA splicers rewrote his very experience. And here's the missing link that ties it all. Kalos. After Unova's League flop, where his Charizard cameo feels like a pity flex from the writers, Ash washes up in Lumio City, and boom, skills flood back. Against Clemont, he's chaining Thunderbolt to Fragadia's Water Pulse like Sinnoh never left. Mega Lucario sinks, hit flawlessly. Rival Alan pushes him to Garchomp evolutions he mastered years prior. No amnesia recovery arc, no I remember now epiphany. Just instant recall, as if Unova was a dream sequence scrubbed from canon. Timeline math doesn't add up. Sinnoh ends around age 17 in fan calcs, Unova drags another year of losses, Kalos snaps to peak form. Years of growth, compressed or erased. This fractured timeline screams multiverse reality, doesn't it? Think about it. You've got Ultra Beasts punching holes between dimensions in Alola. Giratina's distortion, world-folding space itself. What if Unova wasn't a regression, but a parallel Ash? Pulled through a rift post-Tobias, stripped of memories to fit a softer reboot for younger fans, then yanked back for Kalos' stakes. Evidence piles up. His Unova team vanishes post-League. No Crocodile cameo in later arcs, unlike Torterra or Talonflame sticking around. Aurora the Boldor, abandoned without a word. Compared to Sinnoh's loyalty, every Pokémon got arcs, returns. Unova feels like a side quest in a fractured continuity. Echoes of the game's own resets, where protagonists forget past heroes. Re-watch the Unova opener closely. Ash dreams of Ho-Oh that first night. The rainbow bird from his very first episode, circling back like a continuity anchor. But then Professor Juniper hands him a starter like he's never chosen before. Yeah, and Pikachu eyes Snivy with fresh suspicion. It's meta, acknowledging the reboot while pretending it's seamless. Fan theories explode here. Time loops via Dialga's grip, Celebi shenanigans flinging him sideways, or even Arceus dialing back the dial for narrative mercy after Tobias exposed his limits. The anime's own lore backs it. Remember the Sinjo ruins from our last dive, unowned spelling creation myths. What if they scripted this amnesia, a soft reset to prevent timeline collapse from Ash's endless journey? Delve into specific battles and the multiverse hums louder. Unova Ash ignores steel types shredding ice, something Sinnoh Ash would have countered with Magmortar first. Against Drayden's Haxorus, he pulls brute force over the finesse that beat Lance's Dragonite. It's not character growth, it's a downgrade, then upgrade, in hinting at variant realities colliding. Pokémon Horizons later echoes this with Lico's multiversal travels, but Ash's case predates it. Foreshadowing? Or proof the anime's directors toy with verses, rebooting our hero to chase eternal youth, eternal adventure. The implications ripple outward. If Ash's memories fracture, what about the world? Brock mentions Unova cuisine fondly in Kalos, but never his own travels there. Misty pops in for movies, oblivious. It's a selective amnesia preserving cameos while gutting core growth. Soft reboot as deliberate design, absolutely. Ratings dipped post-Sinnoh. Unova's lighter tone hooked a new gen. But lore-wise, it carves a canyon. Was Unova a Porygon glitch? A dream in Lavender Tower, or the first crack in the multiverse dam? As we peel back these layers of forgotten prowess and timeline tears, one shadows stir in forgotten manors, where spirits cling to crumbling walls, whispering secrets of the old chateau that might hold the key to even darker resets. I hope you're as amazed by this as I am. If you want to stay updated on more content like this, make sure to subscribe and join our community of curious minds. Trust me, what's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew. While Ash grappled with that eerie lapse in his skills heading into Unova, his time in Sinnoh brimmed with encounters far darker than any forgotten battle strategies. Deep in the tangled heart of Eterna Forest, where sunlight barely pierces the canopy and the air hangs thick with the scent of damp moss and decay, you'll find the old chateau. This crumbling mansion isn't just another forgotten ruin in the Pokémon world, it's Sinnoh's most notorious haunted house. A place where the veil between the living and the dead thins to a whisper, and restless spirits replay their final moments for any trainer bold enough to step inside. Picture yourself pushing open those warped double doors at dusk, the wood groaning under your touch like a final breath. Dust motes swirl in the faint light, filtering through cracked stained glass, and the grand foyer stretches out, its chandelier dangling like a skeletal hand. No Pokémon cry echoes here. No, instead, a chill seeps into your bones, the kind that makes your team huddle closer. This isn't random hauntings, these are deliberate apparitions tied to a single family's downfall. Ghosts who only manifest after nightfall in diamond, pearl, or platinum. Turn on your Explorer Kit's lantern, wait for the clock to tick past sunset, and they emerge, silhouettes flickering in the gloom, their voices soft, accusatory, unravelling a tale that feels ripped from a gothic novel, not a game for kids. First among them is the butler, a tall spectral figure in a crisp tailcoat, materialising near the staircase. His voice carries a practiced deference, laced with something unspoken. He speaks of his long service to the master of the house, years of unwavering loyalty. Then the illness strikes, the master falls gravely sick, racked by some unseen poison, coursing through his veins. The butler claims he brewed a special medicine, tailored just for him, administered with care in those final hours. Bitter, yes, but necessary. He lingers there, his translucent form pacing faintly, as if still awaiting praise for his devotion. But listen closer, and doubt creeps in. Why this one servant, alone, crafting the remedy in secret? No healers from Eterna City, no Shanxi from the Pokémon Center, just his hands, grinding herbs in the shadowed kitchen. Then she appears, the lady of the house, gliding silently into the dining hall. Her gown rustles like wind through dead leaves, her face pale under an elaborate updo. She doesn't accuse outright, but her words cut deeper than any blade. The master collapsed mere moments after downing that very medicine, she murmurs, her eyes fixed on the butler's haunt. Right there at the table, fork in hand, life ebbing away, she replays it nightly, her ghost drawn back to the spot, compelled to whisper the truth no living soul dared voice. Was it grief in her tone, or quiet triumph? The portrait above the mantel shows her beside the master and their young daughter, a family frozen in opulent decay, but her spectral gaze always drifts toward the butler's domain. And the maid, oh, the maid seals the shadows. She haunts the corridors, her apron starched even in death, recounting the master's last words with eerie precision. He savoured that brew at first, she says, complimenting its potency despite the acrid bite on his tongue. A little bitter, he'd admitted, but it must be working its cure. She bustles about as if tidying invisible silverware, her voice trembling just enough to hint at the horror she witnessed. Together, these three form a spectral tribunal, their testimonies overlapping in the mansion's echoing halls, pointing unerringly to the poisoned antidote. Not berries from the forest, not a stray muck sludge, the butler's own creation, did the master in, But where does the little girl fit into this poisonous web? She's the most elusive, a pint-sized phantom who drifts through the kitchen by day when her elders slumber. Clad in a frilly dress, her hair in ribbons, she chatters innocently about honey toast slathered thick and warm, baked by the maid long ago. Yet her presence ties the noose tighter. The family portrait captures her wide-eyed innocence, perched between parents who now haunt separately, bitterly. Players have pieced it together from Rotham's catalogue in Platinum. Her ghost flickers alongside theirs at night, silent witness to the drama. Did she taste that fateful brew first, her childish palate recoiling from the bitterness? Or was she the unintended catalyst? Her illness from tainted forest fruit sparking the master's demise? The evidence mounts like fog rolling off Lake Verity, scour the chateau's library, and dusty tomes hint at the family's isolation. No visitors, no outsiders, just servants bound by secrecy. The ghastly clan infesting the place feeds on the residual anguish, their gaseous forms swirling thicker where the ghosts convene, drawn to the spike of negative energy from betrayal. Pokédex entries on Haunter nearby speak of luring prey into shadows, mirroring how this mansion ensnares you, replaying the murder for eternity. It's no accident Game Freak hid this in a kid's game. The butler's calm denial clashes with the women's veiled horror, leaving you to connect the dots. Was it jealousy, inheritance, a lover's pact between butler and lady? The master poisoned deliberately, his antidote laced with lethal nightshade, or worse, all under the roof where a child once laughed. Venturing upstairs only deepens the chill. Bedrooms frozen in time, beds unmade as if occupants fled mid-nightmare. The balcony overlooks Eterna Forest's labyrinth, where no help could arrive in time. Trainers report their Pokémon shivering uncontrollably, even steel types like Bronzong picking up electromagnetic whispers, residual echoes of dying screams. In the anime's adaptation, Ash and crew spend a stormy night here, lights flickering, doors slamming, the ghosts manifesting bolder, their story unfolding in tandem with Team Rocket's bumbling intrusion. But the games keep it purist, unsolved, the spirits trapped in limbo because no justice came. Who poisoned the antidote? The butler acting alone, or with the lady's complicity, sparing the girl, but dooming the father? Theories swirl in fan circles. Perhaps the little girl overheard the plot, her ghost forever baking phantom toast to drown the memory. This murder mystery pulses beneath Sinnoh's surface, a stark reminder that Pokémon lore veils adult horrors in playful pixels. The old chateau stands as Exhibit 1, a children's adventure game embedding patricide, deceit, and undying regret. Ghosts who won't rest until someone names the killer. No epilogue, no developer note, just eternal replay for wanderers like you. And speaking of eerie remnants from Sinnoh's past that refuse to fade, wait until you hear about Chapter 15. The strange souvenir, a peculiar keepsake that blurs the line between gift and curse, hiding secrets that could unravel everything we've explored so far. Now, as the poisoned echoes of the old chateau fade into Sinnoh's misty forests, trainers often pack their bags and set sail for distant shores, chasing new legends across the waves. In the heart of Kalos, where grand chateaus give way to cozy hotels tucked along winding routes, you check in after a long day of battling. The air smells of fresh croissants and polished wood, lamplight casting warm glows on velvet chairs. That's when you spot him, a rugged hiker, his backpack bulging with rocks and relics, nursing a cup of tea in the corner. He catches your eye, nods knowingly, and pulls something from his pocket. "Take this," he says, pressing a peculiar trinket into your hand. "It's a strange souvenir from my travels. Don't know what it does, but it feels important." You stare at it. A small weathered doll stitched with odd patterns, feathers dangling from its head like tribal totems, eyes painted in vibrant reds and yellows that seem to watch you back. It weighs nothing, fits right in your bag, but try as you might, you can't use it. Can't toss it, can't even describe it properly in your Pokédex. Game Freak calls it the strange souvenir, a key item that sits there forever, unexplained, taunting you with its silence. This isn't just some filler junk. Released in 2013 with Pokémon X and Y, this little curio foreshadowed an entire region 3 years before anyone knew Alola existed. Picture it. Kalos players in 2013 fiddling with this creepy doll, wondering why it looks nothing like the elegant fossils or power items from their own region. Fast forward to 2016, Sun and Moon drop, and suddenly those feathers, those bold colours, that ritualistic vibe, they mirror the totem Pokémon exactly. Bigger, fiercer versions of familiar species, perched on wooden pedestals, carved with ancient symbols, guarding trials on tropical islands. The strange souvenir. It could be a shrunken totem effigy, a hiker's lucky charm plucked from Alola's shores long before the boat sailed there. But the hiker doesn't stop at handing over the doll. Lean in closer as he speaks, his voice gravelly from mountain winds. "You know," he murmurs, glancing at the window where Kalos's rolling hills stretch under twilight. "Every region has its protector, a deity that watches over the land, fierce and ancient. In Kalos, we feel it in the life blooming from Xerneas' touch, but out there, beyond the sea, there's something wilder." He trails off, eyes distant, as if remembering forbidden trails. Who is this protector? Not AZ's ultimate weapon, not the fairy legends dancing in Geosenge. No, his words drip with hints of something tropical, primal. Guardians who shield islands from invaders, who demand offerings before revealing their power. Dig deeper into those hotel chats, and you find hikers scattered across Kalos like breadcrumbs. In the Sillage Hotel, by the seaside cliffs, one rambles about peaks that pierce storm clouds, echoing Alola's Wella volcano. In Lumio's glittering lounges, another whispers of rituals under starry skies, trials where Pokémon grow massive and menacing. They never name Alola. How could they, when the maps don't show it yet? But their unsolved dialogue leaks secrets like fog from a geyser. Game Freak loves this trick, you see. They seed the world with NPCs whose lines feel throwaway, flavor text for immersion. But years later, those words bloom into full generations. Take Johto's elders muttering about a tower of flames, long before Hisui's ancient wars surfaced. Or Hoenn fishermen, eyeing southern seas, hinting at Paldea's vast plains. In Kalos hotels, these hikers aren't random. They're vessels for foresight. The protector deity they invoke? It screams Tapu, those enigmatic guardians of Alola, each tied to an island like Kanto's birds to their seas. Tapu Koko, electric fury crashing like thunder over Melemele Beach, shielding the kahunas from threats unseen. Tapu Lele, psychic mists drifting over Akala's flowers, healing or harming with a glance. Tapu Bulu, grass-wreathed bull charging through Ula Ula's deserts. Tapu Fini, watery veil over Pony's cliffs, a commanding tides that swallow ships whole. Why call them protectors? Alola's lore paints them as island sentinels, born from the land itself, intervening when balance tips. The hiker's souvenir doll matches their aesthetic perfectly. Those feather crests on Tapu Koko, the shell motifs on Fini, all stylized in totem carvings, trainers smashed during trials. Imagine the developers in 2013, sketching Alola in secret, slipping this prototype into X and Y as a wink to eagle-eyed fans. You hold it in your bag through Lysandra's crisis, the Flare organization's fall, AZ's thousand-year grief, and it just sits there, a quiet prophecy, activating only when Sun and Moon's menu screens load those exact same totems. Game Freak's pattern runs deeper, a web of unsolved whispers binding the series. Back in Gold and Silver, a Kianwood elder spoke of wings of steel guarding distant ruins, cut content or early Ho-OTs. In Ruby and Sapphire, Lava Ridge locals hinted at time-warping caves, predating Aurus's Delta episode by a decade. These NPCs never get follow-up. Their dialogue hangs, incomplete, pulling you back to old saves just to reread. In Kalos, the hiker vanishes after his gift, leaving you with the souvenir and a nagging itch. Theories swirl. Is it cursed like a Yamask's mask? A key to post-game content we never unlocked? Or pure foreshadowing? Proof Game Freak plans generations in layers, burying clues for obsessives like us. Consider the timing. X and Y launched amid hype for a new continent, but Nintendo played coy. Players traded strange souvenirs online, speculating it summoned legendaries or unlocked badges. Nothing. Then Sun and Moon trailers hit, totem battles everywhere, and forums exploded. That Kalos doll, it's them! The Protector mention sealed it. Alola's Tapus are explicitly the island's deities, appearing in cutscenes to crown champions or smite invaders. No coincidence when the hiker ties it to Kalos' own lore, the ultimate weapon's devastation, leaving a region scarred, in need of watchers. Maybe Kalos had Tapu-like beings once, vaporized in AZ's blast, their remnants washing up as hikers' finds. You feel it in your hands. Even now, that doll's rough fabric, the way it seems warmer after battles, as if alive. Game Freak thrives on this ambiguity, turning one-off chats into time capsules. Why solve them? The mystery fuels replays, fuels videos like this, fuels your midnight scrolls through Bulbapedia. Those Kalos hotels, once rest stops, become pilgrimage sites. Stay the night, talk to every hiker, collect the words like rare candies, and that Protector, it lingers, a shadow over Alola's paradise, hinting at wars older than AZ's, foes from across the sea who tested the Guardian's wrath. Yet for all these leaks, some threads pull tighter toward the very start of creation itself. Up next in Chapter 16, the original one's limitations, we unravel the cracks in Arceus' godhood, the god who birthed unknown beasts and worlds, but couldn't foresee the void slipping through its grasp. What holds back the creator when even protectors falter? That cryptic souvenir from Kalos whispering of a distant protector deity safeguarding ancient powers pulls us toward even grander enigmas in the Pokémon cosmos. What if the true architect of that entire universe, the original one itself, labours under profound constraints we've barely glimpsed? Arceus stands as the pinnacle of Pokémon divinity, the Alpha, the creator who birthed the distortion world from nothingness. Legends etched into Sinnoh's ruins proclaim it forged the cosmos with its 1,000 arms, shaping time through Dialga, space via Palkia, and the shadowy Antithesis realm with Giratina. Every Pokémon traces its essence back to this singular entity, a boundless force that shattered its own primal plates to ignite creation itself. Yet here's the fracture in that divine tapestry. This god, infinite and omnipotent, submits to capture inside a fragile Pokeball, a device hammered together by human ingenuity in some distant lab. Picture the audacity of it. You hurl a tiny red and white sphere. I'm engineered from apricorns and synthetic alloys, and the original one yields. In Platinum's climax, it bows to your command after rampaging across dimensions. In Legends, Arceus, you ensnare it outright, taming the architect of reality to battle alongside your starter Pokémon. No cataclysm ensues, no cosmic backlash. It simply enters the ball, shakes thrice, and clicks. Does this not unravel the very notion of godhood? A being that predates humanity, that sculpted life from void, reduced to a collectible, traded across link cables, or stashed in a PC box. Whispers in the lore hint at the answer, buried in Sinnoh's petroglyphs and the Unknown's formless script. The Arceus we chase isn't the full original one. It's an avatar, a manifested fragment, a vessel cloaked in mortal limits to wander our realm. Think of it like a silhouette cast by an eclipsed sun. Potent, yes, but only a sliver of the searing core. Game files and developer teases reinforce this. Arceus arrives plateless in most encounters, stripped of its elemental arsenal until you adorn it manually. Without those 17 shimmering plates, life, splash, flame, and the rest, it's incomplete, its type locked to the elusive normal until judgment plates alter its essence. Delve deeper into those plates, and the veil thins further. Each one embodies a primal force shed by Arceus in the dawn of creation to birth the late guardians. Uxie for knowledge, Mesprit for emotion, Azelf for will. The creation trio followed, each plate fueling their dominion. But what happens if all plates converge? Scattered across Sinnoh's peaks and shrines, they pulse with latent power, a collectible like shards of a broken god. In the anime's peculiar episodes, Arceus dons multiple plates simultaneously, warping reality into judgment form. A golden blaze with crimson accents, hovering in multi-typed fury. Yet even there it falters, pierced by human spears, betrayed by its own fragmented state. Fan dissections of the Delta unearth more. Arceus's model in Legends. Arceus boasts hidden animations, subtle flares suggesting unbound potential. Its Pokédex cry warbles across octaves, echoing the unown's dialect from ruins of Alph. Those eyeless enigmas that swarm when Arceus stirs, forming words like alpha in swirling voids. The type, that ghostly remnant from Generation 2's curse mechanic, lingers in Arceus's code. Equip the wrong plate, or none, and it reverts to that null state, immune, untethered. A glitch in godhood's code. Is this why it can be caught? The avatar endures because the true original one slumbers beyond reach, in a higher plane where Pokeballs shatter like glass. Consider the implications rippling through the multiverse. In the Diamond and Pearl arc, Arceus's rampage stems not from malice, but vulnerability. A meteor's fallout, exploiting its divided plates, summoning the creation trio unchecked. Cyrus manipulates this fracture, nearly unmaking reality. In movie lore, it cloaks itself as a humble Pokémon to evade humanity's grasp, only unveiling wrath when cornered. Even its evolutions, or lack thereof, scream limitation. While Sylph Scope scans reveal ghostly truths, no device pierces Arceus's avatar fully. It evolves via plates, sure, but never transcends to a complete form uniting all 17. Delta miners speculate such a state exists in unused assets. A radiant colossus, type-shifting fluidly, stats eclipsing eternity. But Game Freak seals it away, teasing infinity without delivery. This avatar theory echoes across regions. Ho-Oh resurrects beasts from ash, yet bows to trainers. Mewtwo, cloned from the ancestor, shatters labs, but crumbles to master balls. Gods incarnate to interact, diluting power for our world's rules. Arceus's plates, those hidden keys, dangle the promise of wholeness, a complete original one that could rewrite existence. Scour Hisui's highlands, or Michina's ruins, and you sense it, the plates hum, yearning reunion. What cataclysm unleashes if a trainer claims them all? Does the avatar dissolve, unveiling the god unchained? These constraints bind not just Arceus, but our understanding of divinity in Pokemon's weave. A god catchable by design, fragmented for our games, yet pulsing with untapped fury. As we trace these plates' forgotten paths, shadows of eternal guardians stir next. Guardians like the eternal flower, blooming secrets that defy even time's decay. If Arceus can only manifest, as an avatar, a mere shadow of its boundless power contained within human craft, then what secrets lie hidden in the Pokémon we think we know, lingering in the shadows of game code, untouched for over a decade? In the heart of Kalos, where the echoes of an ancient war still whisper through the ruins, one such enigma blooms eternal. AZ's Floette, a Pokémon so singular that its data remains buried in the files of Pokémon X and Y, fully coded with stats and abilities no player has ever awakened. Picture the crumbling spires of Lumio City at dusk, where AZ wanders eternally, his hollow eyes fixed on a memory no time can erode. This king, crowned in the blood-soaked era of Kalos' forgotten conflict, built an ultimate weapon, not from steel or stone, but from the life force of countless Pokémon, drained into a colossal cannon that scarred the world. Victory came, but at a cost that shattered him. His beloved Floette, sent to the front lines with a radiant flower clutched in its tiny petals, fell in battle, its light snuffed out. Aziz's grief forged immortality from the weapon's core, binding him to wander forever, searching for that lost companion. Yet deep within the game's programming, that Floette never truly died. Its model exists, pristine and unique, with base stats far surpassing any ordinary Floette. Higher special attack, a bolstered defences, a spectral typing hinting at Ghost alongside Fairy. Why code such a powerhouse, complete with animations and cries only to lock it away? Data miners unearthed it years ago, sifting through the binaries of those 6th generation cartridges. And there it was, Floette holding the Eternal Flower, an item that pulses with otherworldly energy, granting abilities like immunity to fairy weaknesses, and a draining aura that echoes the weapon's hunger. This isn't some glitch or forgotten sprite, it's a fully realised Pokémon form. Its flower, a perpetual bloom that defies decay, petals shimmering in hues no standard shiny could match. Trainers have scoured Kalos for a decade, since X and Y's release in 2014, trading glitches and hacks in shadowy forums, but Game Freak has never released the event, never distributed the flower through mystery gift or update. Floette evolves into Florges under normal conditions, but this one? It stands apart, unevolvable, a memorial frozen in code, as if AZ's companion waits for a redemption the developers withhold. Delve deeper into the lore, and the flower's true terror unfurls. Aziz's ultimate weapon wasn't mere firepower. It siphoned life essence from Pokémon across the region, petrifying them into fossils that litter Geosenge's ravine even today. Yveltal, the destruction Pokémon, hovered above, absorbing those vanishing souls into its crimson wings. But the Eternal Flower tells a parallel tale. Floette carried it into war, a beacon of hope amid the slaughter, its pollen said to heal the wounded, to mend what war tore asunder. When Floette perished, Aze poured that same restorative power into his machine, inverting it, life-giving bloom twisted into a harvest of death. The flower, unbreakable, outlasted its bearer, clutched in Floette's rigid grasp as it faded. Or did it? Legends murmur that the Eternal Flower absorbed the weapon's backlash, becoming a conduit for stolen vitality, explaining its coded prowess, stats swollen with the echoes of thousands of lives. Why seal this Floette away for 10 long years? Theories swirl like mist over Terminus Cave. Some whisper Game Freak fears unleashing a meta breaker. Its stats rival early legendaries, special attack cresting at levels that could warp competitive play. Others point to narrative sanctity. Releasing it would demand confronting AZ's full arc, perhaps triggering a post-game quest, where players restore the flower, forcing AZ to confront mortality in a way the story evades. Imagine wandering Geosenge at midnight, the air thick with the scent of petrified stone, and there, amid the debris, a prompt to revive Floette. Would it drain your team's life to bloom? The code hints at such mechanics, an ability called Eternal Flower that leeches HP from foes while healing allies, a perfect mirror to the weapon's drain. Yet Nintendo stays silent, letting it languish, a digital ghost haunting ROM dumps and emulator runs. Connect the petals and the mystery sharpens. Kolos's war targeted an unknown foe, scars in Gala's wilds or Paldea's craters. But the Eternal Flower powered the counterstroke. Floette's unique form suggests it was no ordinary casualty. Perhaps it was the key, a Pokémon bred for war. Its flower cultivated in royal gardens to amplify life force. Pokédex entries dance around it. Flabébé clings to flowers for luck, but AZ's was eternal, defying wilt much like AZ defies death. In the anime's adaptation, that flower revives briefly, petals glowing as Floette returns from the veil, only to vanish again, underscoring the permanence of loss. Game data confirms the link. The flower's model integrates seamlessly with the weapon's interior cutscene, as if meant for a scrapped epilogue where Aza reclaims it, dismantling his creation. Trainers obsess over this relic, modding cartridges to summon it, watching as its animations play, petals unfurling in slow hypnotic waves, a cry that blends Floette's chime with a distant, mournful wind. But legitimacy eludes them. No official word from Masuda or Ohmori, no Pokémon home transfer, nothing. It's as if the eternal flower embodies Pokémon's core paradox: beauty born from tragedy, power chained by restraint. A Z still roams Prism Tower's shadow, model unchanged across remakes and spin-offs. His Floette icon clutched in pixelated desperation. Will it ever bloom for us? This petal leads us toward the final frontier of lore, where the ultimate secrets of Pokémon's veiled history await unveiling in Chapter 18. The final frontier of lore. Drift deeper with me as the mysteries converge. A Z's eternal Floette lingers in the shadows of the code, a flower that bloomed from 3,000 years of grief, its petals holding the weight of a king's undying vow. But what if that vow echoes something far grander, a fracture running through the very fabric of every Pokémon world we've explored? Think back to the burned tower in Reconnect City, where lightning cracked the sky and flames devoured 3 nameless Pokémon in an instant. Ho-Oh descended like a phoenix from forgotten myths, breathing life back into their charred remains, birthing Raiku's thunder, Entei's inferno, Suicune's cleansing winds. They roam Johto now as legends, but their original forms, erased, or perhaps hidden in plain sight, waiting for us to question if resurrection always leaves a scar. That scar appears again in Kalos, where AZ's ultimate weapon, a petal-blasting beam of devastation, scarred the earth from horizon to horizon. Legends whisper of a war against shadows from another land, maybe Gala's jagged peaks or Paldea's cratered heart, but the beam's true path vanishes into mist. Did it not just kill, but rewrite, pulled souls across regions, seeding rebirths in the ruins, like Floette rising from AZ's hand, and Cubone, that lonely wanderer with its mother's skull perched like a crown of sorrow, hatches from eggs already armoured in bone, yet the helmet slips free in battle, revealing nothing. No face beneath, just the void of what was lost. Is this the glitch? A Pokémon born from Death's Echo, perpetuating a cycle where every Cubone mourns a Marowak that never truly fades. These threads weave tighter when you chase the ghosts. In Lumio City's elevators, she materializes, pale, floating, eyes hollow as she murmurs, "No, you're not the one." Not a Pokémon, not a trainer, but a spectre slipping through steel walls, searching for a soul that slipped the net of rebirth. Canalave City holds another, tied to Drifloon's grim grasp. Are those balloon-like drifters that snatch children into the marshy dark, their bodies bloated with screaming souls ready to burst. Sun and Moon's Pokédex chills the air with it. Drifloon doesn't drift by accident. They hunt the living to ferry them over. Even the murals betray the pattern. Ancient carvings place Arcanine beside Ho-Oh, a majestic hound called Legendary in the Pokédex, yet never crowned as such. Why etch it there among gods, if not to hint at beasts risen from ordinary ashes, like those in the tower? Crystal Onix gleams in forgotten caves, its body refracting light through facets no rock type should possess, shrugging off water as if reborn from mineral dreams. Pull it all together, and the Pokémon worlds, Kalos, Johto, Sinnoh, beyond, form a multiverse stitched from death's loom. Arceus, the original one, spins creation from plates of reality, but unknown swarm the ruins. Their script, a code older than time, linking back to the creator in whispers never spoken aloud. That triple question, mark typing, haunting, curse before ghost claimed it, lingers in Arceus' code, even now, a glitch in the god's design. Tobias sweeps through Sinnoh's League with Darkrai's nightmare grip. His unseen team a shadow roster of legends, then fades like smoke. Ash himself resets in Unova, skills evaporating as if crossing regions demands rebirth, forgetting to remember. This is the unified pulse. Death cracks the shell, rebirth fills the void, but glitches persist. The ultimate weapon's untraced scar, the ghost girl's endless hunts, Floette's coded prison, Cubone's hidden face. It's as if the worlds are simulations layered across a multiverse, where every reset and every Pokeball capture of a god like Arceus strains the seams. Avatars manifest, Arceus halved, Floette eternal, because the full truth would shatter the cycle. Wars like Kalos's don't just end, they bleed into other realms, birthing giants like that colossal Dragonite, or inconsistencies like elephants lurking in Pokédex tales from a world that shouldn't know them. The glitch isn't error, it's the breath of life in the machine. Drifloon's soul-stuffed screams, the Hex Maniac's vanishing trail, the typing's enigma, they remind us the design was never perfect. Arceus didn't craft flawless paradise, it wove a tapestry of loss and renewal, where mysteries like the Protector, hinted in Kalos hotels, foreshadow Alola's guardians, or the old chateau's poisoned echoes, keep the worlds alive through wonder. Yet here's the quiet truth we circle back to. Some veils stay drawn, reveal Cubone's face, name the beasts before the fire, map the weapon's arc, and the mythos crumbles. These unsolved rifts fuel the fire, Ho-Oh's descent, AZ's flower, the ghost's murmurs, inviting us to dream across the multiverse. Death feeds rebirth, glitches guard the gate, and in that eternal dance, Pokémon endures. As the stars wheel over burned towers and cratered plains, feel the pull of it all. The frontier isn't out there in new regions, it's here, in the shadows we choose not to banish, where lore sleeps deepest. What did you think of this journey? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this changed your perspective or taught you something new, consider subscribing for more mind-expanding content. And if you know someone who would find this as fascinating as you did, share it with them. These are the kind of conversations that matter.